I can't get high no more. I think I hit the ceiling. Open up my head, I'm peeling. I feel the hazy feeling. I try to cage my feelings. I just get stuck in my mind. I just keep thinking my time away. You only got so much time in the day. I only got so much time, I can't wait. I gotta do it today. After what I've been through, I'm okay. Such a miracle, I can't believe it. Swearing to God and I'm praying to Jesus. Swear you got demons, so bitch, I'm a demon. When you say you love me, do you mean it? How could you love me then leave me? Yeah. Shit, I still come out okay. I come out okay. Wait, came out okay. Although I've been plagued, yeah, I still come out okay. Still come out okay, yeah. It's too much, it's too much. I can't trust. I can't fall in love, fall in love, fall in love. I don't know if it's the drugs or my lens. I can't see where I'm going. Take my hand. It's too much, it's too much. I can't trust. Again, fall in love, fall in love. I don't know.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to this special conversation. Of course, again, talking about the state of the election. We last talked about the debate, which was a while ago, and we are back talking about some updates. Things have changed since then. Obviously, we have a new person in the race. America's auntie, as she's referred to. I always like to play this video whenever I
You
talk
call
about it.
that human rights, China? I call it human wrongs. Kamala, Sundays on TNT.
It's a
I would totally watch that, by the way. Kamala, Sundays on TNT. The
I'd
prostitutes.
probably watch that.
Oh yeah, I mean, but yeah. So thank you everybody for watching. The usual YouTuber stuff, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Also, check out all the new stuff coming to the channel this Friday. We've got the Hard Focus podcast, which we're really excited about. But yeah, with that, let's get into this, my guy. I'm really excited. But let's go ahead and start with this. Obviously, as the title infers, an across the aisle conversation. We do have different political views. We are voting for two different people and so, but I've I've always enjoyed this since high school is talking politics and having conversations with people, listening. I've never been the type of person that just because I don't vote for Trump or I don't like Trump, doesn't mean I can't be friends with people that aren't, or have conversations with them, or any of that type of stuff, or look down on them, or think less of them. And I think that's kind of been a very sad thing since since all of this started. Is now it's really gotten to a place where we think less of the other, and you can't be friends with somebody who disagrees with you, on certain issues and stuff, and so. We're here to prove that wrong. We've been having some great conversations behind the scenes, and we thought we'd bring it to the world. We'd share it with the world. We'd share our gifts and our conversations with the world. And then everybody fucking decided to copy us, like Vivix, Ramen Suave, and
Vivek Ramen Noodles and Mark Cuban.
Yeah, and Mark.
It's literally the same thing we're trying to accomplish here, really.
Jesus, and then Elon and Trump, like, you guys, we should get some sort of royalties for that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
We should be in a very different financial situation than we are right now. We should be getting some credit, some creative something. But with that, why don't you go and introduce yourself, Bob? Tell the people about what you wanted to say and all that type of stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. So first off, I want to thank Austin for having me on. I am Bob the Goon.
Thank you.
Me and Austin, we've known each other a little while now, since we've been kind of hanging in the same Discord circle through some of the same people that we both collaborate with, being Joker's Corner. And stuff like that. We both know a couple other mutual streamers like Saggy and stuff like that. So we've had some great conversations, like you said, over the past few weeks. And since we've really known each other, me and you have always been able to just have some good conversation about anything, not just mainly on political topics. specifically, but mainly anything. And this is a chance, like you said, for us to show that people can just have a civilized conversation and have opposing views and still come out at the end of the day and still be friends and not affect people in the way that you're seeing today, where it's so polarized and people are so tribal. It seems that you can't, once you tell somebody, oh, I'm voting for Harris, or oh, I'm voting for Trump, you're vilified by some side, one or the other, and that's it's a real travesty. So as you were saying, yeah, I would consider myself kind of like an independent, with some right-leaning views. I'm open to pretty much any good ideas, really.
Yeah.
What I think are good ideas, that is. I can't speak for everybody, but myself, anyways. I haven't strictly always voted one way or the other. Just also, there is a little bit of an age difference between us. I'm 38, and
Yes.
you're in your like mid 20s, 23, 24, correct?
Oh no, that's Brad. I'm 27. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
you're
closer.
27. Brad's
So about
23.
10 years.
All right,
Yeah.
you're the cradle
Yeah.
robber. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what's going on. All right, now I
Exactly.
understand. Okay, so
Yeah.
all right, but we still got a good 10-year gap on each other. We still got a good
Hmm.
10-year gap. So and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I think this is important too because you're right now the left has a young candidate in Kamala Harris, and that's going to be an
Sure.
important thing for a lot of people, because
Absolutely.
everybody, a lot of people on both sides were worried about how Joe Biden is, and then Trump as
The
well, because
dementia
he's not
on both
exactly.
sides.
Exactly, because neither one of these guys are young. So
Yeah.
that plays a thing in too, because young people and old people should be able to have these conversations as well. Um,
Yes. Oh yeah.
People of different ages,
That's a
and it,
big thing for sure. That generational divide in this topic for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, because most of the time it's probably a good chance a lot of the young voters this time around are going to be voting for somebody like Harris.
Yeah.
Most likely, I would think she's got most of the young vote. He might have snagged some here or there with what he did on Twitter with or X with Elon and what he did with Aiden Ross, but we can get into more of that later. But so as I was saying though, I've always been on any side of the spectrum here. Like for example, I voted Democrat twice in '04 and 2008. So John Kerry and Obama I voted for.
Okay. Yeah.
I've also voted Libertarian, as I told you before, for Joe Jorgensen. So
Yes. And
if I don't,
I've been for those candidates as well. I campaigned for her, and there was another guy that I really liked too. I believe he's Middle Eastern. Justin
Mhm.
Amish or something like that. I was a big fan of that. He was running for a second as a independent.
Exactly, and I think I don't think no matter what party or whatever you identify as in the political sphere, I don't think you have to be so brand loyal to that you can't acknowledge good ideas on the other side, or even
Sure.
another possible candidate who might not be your run of the mill Democrat or Republican, who might be an independent or a libertarian, or just some random guy who might just have a good idea on the street who you want to write in. Um,
Exactly.
And it's important, I think, as well to acknowledge that when your side has bad ideas or isn't doing a good job, because as me and you talked about before as well, um, a lot of people nowadays take whatever their side is saying, no matter what it is, truth or lie, as 100% fact,
Exactly.
and that is it's horrible in a sense because it's hard to know really what is the truth. It really is. Me and you being on uh, different spectrums of the political sphere, um, we're going to see different news stories in that, especially when it comes to a service like Twitter or Facebook, that's
Exactly.
more that's more geared towards our political views. So for every story that the left puts out about how Trump's going, he's panicking and he's getting low crowd numbers, the right's putting out the same story about how, Kamala's using AI for her fucking crowds and
Exactly.
stuff like that. You know what I mean? And that's just how wacky we've gotten. So again, this is a great chance for us to just have a civilized conversation like we are. And it's not to say that at certain points throughout all this or this
Right.
conversation or any future
Things
ones that
could.
we have,
Yeah. Things
Yeah,
could
we
get
could have
passionate.
exactly, and you're supposed to be passionate about politics. And again, we're not always going to be right about everything we say. We're not political science majors by any means. We're just two regular guys who have our own thoughts and opinions about things.
And enjoy
And
talking. Yeah,
exactly, and not only that, but we respect the fact that we have our own thoughts and opinions about things. Because I do. I
absolutely.
respect your views, whether I agree with them or not. They're yours, and I
Same.
can't. There's that doesn't nothing you no view that you have is going to make you a bad person, unless your view was like you're 100% for just running around inexplicably murdering people. Then sure, I might say, yeah, I think you got a very bad viewpoint there. But
Right.
you know um but no matter who you're voting for, what your political stance is, for anybody, any side, that really doesn't make you a bad person. Because and I'm sure we'll get into this too, I don't think everybody should be an adult. Most of us are. Anybody who's supposed to be in the political sphere who's voting, you are technically an adult at that point.
Yeah.
And we should be acting as such. And in that sense, I mean that, um, you know, eh, with everything that goes on, you can't, to me, anyways, in my opinion, you can't blame the actions of a lot of these crazies on the right or left on the candidates themselves. Now, I'm going to give you 100% that there's a lot of things that Trump says that a lot of wacky people will 100% construe or think he's directly talking to them, or that
Sure.
he's the second coming of Christ himself. Because we know that there are those wacky people.
Yeah.
I can't, he's not even the most religious guy out there. He really isn't. And
But don't worry.
but they
He was
love
a
him.
believer before. He's even more of a believer now.
Yeah, well, yes. Now that he said, if anybody who listened to the opening monologue that he gave, 20 minutes that he did about his assassination yesterday,
The full
you'll know,
breakdown. And
yeah, that he wasn't the most holiest and he rollers of them all. But now that he lived, he's highly considering it. It's a big possibility that something's going on there, and he might have to be looking into it further. Um, but for some reason, regardless of anything, they love him. Christians love him, um, and that could go back to, that could even be, I think, attributed even through COVID. Him, I think, fighting for churches and stuff like that to try and stay open when the COVID lockdowns were
sure.
happening.
Sure.
That's definitely going to appease the people that want to go to church
Yeah,
and love that shit. So
absolutely.
that's an easy win for him there. But as I'm just rambling off here, again, this is just a great opportunity. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we get to do this. I want people. I really hope people do take a look at this and enjoy this and realize again that you can like whoever you want. Doesn't matter who it is. It really shouldn't. No matter how people do act nowadays. Because again, me being a little bit older, what I can remember is growing up, nobody, not that nobody talked about it, but you never told somebody who you were voting for. You never
Right.
did. That was like the most secretest, private thing. And it wasn't because if you told somebody they'd hate you for it, but just for some reason back then, people treated that as, we keep this a secret. If your guy won, you might gloat about it, or be bummed if your guy lost, but you never just openly on voting day, or, obviously there was no Twitter or
Yeah.
Facebook back then, but
Everybody's
people,
kind of quiet about it. Yeah.
yeah, it was that old thing. You didn't talk about who you voted for. You didn't really openly, talk about religion,
Religion.
at a
Yeah.
dinner table, and you most certainly didn't talk about your sex life or anything like that. Um, Now all three of them things are an
They're everywhere.
everyday discussion. Yeah, exactly. And now everybody's talking about them. So it's a weird thing because like I said, that's how I grew up, being a little bit older. So it's
But
weird
even then,
seeing
it's not
how.
that like you're still. I would say so. Let's see. Pretend you. I mean, you're still considered a millennial, right?
I believe so, because
Yeah.
I was born in '85,
Uh huh. I
and
think, and then I'm depending who you ask. I'm
yeah,
technically a millennial because the
y-
cutoff age year is usually 97 to 2000. That
absolutely.
they so I'm right there. I made it. I'm with the cool
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, I'm not a scientist or anything, but yeah,
I'm
I
the
believe
baby of the cool
I am a
kids, but I'm with
millennial
the
or something
cool
like that.
kids.
So if we're
Yeah,
grouped in that together by that,
but
then that's fine.
at least
Um,
we don't get to be Bradley and be Gen Z. I love you, babe.
yeah, 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 fuck them. They're the
Yeah,
ones that
I'm
are going to
sorry.
really ruin this country
We're gonna. Oh God.
on
Yeah.
both sides. It don't even matter who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everybody just kind of agrees with that. Like, oh God, these kids. What's happening? Um, yeah. When you
Yeah,
have
where do you want to start off here, man?
um,
what do you want to start with talking about? The floor is yours, Senator.
well, yeah. Well, let's start with last night. Let's get into
Absolutely.
the whole the Elon Musk and Trump interview. So, well, first of all, what were your kind of overall thoughts of Trump and just the overall um,
Sure.
interview? Yeah.
So overall, if I had to grade it, give it like a one between a 1 and a 10. I'd give it a 7.5.
Okay.
I've been following his. He
Seven
hasn't
and a
had
half
many.
letterbox review.
Yeah, exactly. A 7.5 out of 10. Which I don't think is too bad. This is out of the rallies I've been seeing since obviously, which he hasn't had too many really since his the assassination attempt, and his rally schedule has been kind of light, but he has been doing interviews and such like that. So I've been trying to follow as much since the assassination attempt as possible. And this was one of the first, even though this wasn't technically an interview with air quotes, more
Yeah.
of just a conversation, as Eli put it, or Elon put it. I keep calling him Eli. Um, but because again, we noticed right off the bat, it wasn't Elon space. This was Trump space. Trump was the host. Elon was just the co-host in this space. It was really all Trump's thing here, as it mostly usually is with him. So, but yeah,
Yes.
I give it a 7.5 out of 10, and the reason I give it that is because there was some things that I wish Elon would have followed up on. Especially he's going through the 20-minute diatribe in the beginning about the assassination attempt. Something like that, I think, even in a conversation setting, should lead into a question about how if that changes his view on guns, which I know he's already said, and I believe one of the either an interview or one of the rallies after the assassination that it hasn't. But again, when you're trying to reach a lot of undecideds, because I think that's what's going on. This is the battle between these two is going to be the battle for the undecideds. The bases are going to vote their way no matter what.
Yeah.
So this is what they're battling for. So I think like stuff like that, I wish Elon would have either dug a little bit deeper on and asked a few more follow-up questions, because if you're trying to make an impression, people do want to hear that. That might be a single issue voter who might want to know, oh, well, since you got shot at, are you going to take away my gun now? And if his deal is no, you should be touting that everywhere you go. You
Yeah.
know, hey,
Yeah.
just because this happened to me, I'm not going to immediately call to this, because that would, I think that would be something if this was, flip the script. I think that's, obviously something that's, I think, always on the Democratic platform for more gun control, and they're always pushing that, especially with the school shootings and stuff like that.
Sure. Sure.
That's something they can. That's an easy platform. It's a quick win to run on that, especially if you have a tragedy, unfortunately, you're going
Yeah.
to get
And
the
he
sympathy
does. I
votes
mean,
there automatically.
he does believe in some regulation to some extent. Obviously, he did
Yeah, because he
do
wants to. I
the
think.
bump stock restriction.
Yeah,
At the same
exactly.
time, like I have been very public in saying that I do think some restrictions are still needed. At least like here in Vegas, you can buy pretty much any gun, automatic or not, semi-automatic.
Sure.
Like they have the gun show that is touted here.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
um, I do think there needs to be some sort of regulation. We don't need
There
or
does.
strict background checks, strict whatever. Like
Well, see, here's the thing: is I when it comes to that, is I don't know. I can't claim to know what a reasonable and common sense
yeah, yeah,
solution is, because
it's
of the
kind of
fact
hard.
that
Yeah,
it is, because no matter what you do and no matter what kind of law or regulation you put in place, I think specifically and mostly for this topic especially, you're always going to have people who are going to find ways to circumvent that. And in a country like ours, unfortunately, where not unfortunately, because I don't want to say that, because I do believe in the Second Amendment. I'm all for, if you ask me, people should be able to have rifles. I think to a degree, in my opinion, people should be able to have almost to the extent of what police and army have, because in my opinion, because the Second Amendment is there not for just hunting and stuff like that, because it is there to help us at any time against a tyrannical government, or even just foreign or domestic, terrorism or something, anything like that.
Listen, if Red
Anything.
Dawn ever comes in, I want my own
Exactly.
take. All right, if
Exactly.
I
We
start
can't
seeing
be.
Russians float down in
Yeah.
parachutes, I'm shooting them
Exactly.
down.
And we can't be Wolverines with pea shooters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And because to me, when it comes to that, and from history has taught us anything, the founding fathers put that in there for a reason. And at the time, the biggest advancement in military tech they had back then, as far as firepower, were cannons.
right. Yeah, they did
And
not know shit was going to get nuclear, literally.
exactly. But at the same time, if they didn't have cannons the same as the people that were attacking them,
Right.
we might be all, we'd all probably still be sipping tea and crumpets and bullshit like this, and giving praise to kings and queens and all that bullshit that they're doing
Right.
over there. So, again, that it's such a hard time, because you really don't know what to do, and we have like something like 300 million guns in this country, because that's what we do. We manufacture weapons here. Um, we have weapons coming in from, Mexico. We got weapons coming in from everywhere. They're coming and going. That's like our biggest import here, military and weapons. That's all we do. That's all
Yeah.
our exporting and importing is based on nowadays. Um, but yeah, I wish he would have expanded more on things like that. But overall, as compared to what I've been seeing and hearing from him on most of his rallies and interviews, and I said this to you, I feel like I don't know what like his campaign management is telling him to do, but I wish he would do more like this, and he should be talking more like this, because I thought he was, even though he's his typical self. He's always going to be his typical self. He's
Yeah.
always going to be long-winded, a little bit repetitive at times. But I thought he made excellent points, because he did talk a lot about what he wanted to do as far as border and stuff like that, which I liked. Because again, right now she's getting big crowds. There's a lot of hype behind her, and but she hasn't done any interviews. She hasn't done interviews,
Yeah.
and we haven't seen a debate yet. So a while ago she was touting the September 10th one is the one she wants,
I
correct?
believe so. Yeah.
Or is it the third?
Yeah. September
Okay,
10th.
yeah.
Yeah.
She wanted the September 10th initially, and initially he was put off because, oh, that was supposed to be with Joe, and now you switched on me, and that's a
Right.
whole different thing we can get into if you want to get into that. But finally, and now at this point, now he comes out and say, well, okay, I'll do September 10th, but now I want you to do September 3rd and then September 15th, or another date. So he wants to do three now, which I told you I was all for. I think they should do
Right.
three debates, because to me, she needs to, at some point, she can't, you can't hide from the media forever, and obviously you can't hide from a debate.
Right. Oh yeah.
And because it's my opinion, if he's gonna win anybody over, or if he's gonna even have a chance of winning the election, because I think right now, in my honest opinion, it's a little more skewed towards her. And again, that's how I perceive it, from based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I don't look at polls and stuff like that, because we know that to
Right.
be, if 2016 taught you anything, it's don't believe
Exactly.
that. Don't believe that
Exactly.
stuff. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Election day matters. That's all that matters. So for him to win and have a good chance of winning, I think for him it's going to come down to doing more things like this, more interviews and debates. So if he could keep up with sticking to policy and hitting her on that, as far as border, especially because that's a big one, the economy, what we're going to do with that, and how we're going to fix inflation, what he's going
Right.
to do there. I think because he gets such a bum rap about uh, with the Roe v. Wade and moving that to the states. Um, he needs to, and he said this a few times now, that he is 100% in favor, for the three exceptions in abortion, which are obviously rape, incest, and
Right.
any sort of threat to the life of the mother. and he should be touting that more. Obviously, if I was his campaign manager,
Well, this is the
that should
thing,
be
though,
something he should be all over.
that she and I think that Democrats are trying to make points of. He is just as flip floppy as any like if when he and especially when he's in there when he's in office, he has a lot of Republican advisors. He wants all the he will cave to certain things for to make sure he keeps people on his side. He's got to keep people happy too. It's not just about everybody keeping him. And he knows that, and so
Well,
he's done that before, and I think that's why the Democrats are focusing so hard on that. Oh, don't you know? Don't believe the hype there. Same with the project
Well, no,
2025.
I think that's
All
fair.
that.
In that, I mean, we have, especially with the Project 25, we have opposing views on that because
Right.
I'm, I heard all this talk before, and when I was on the Democratic side with Agenda 47, and nothing really came of that. And that was
Yeah.
a big Republican scare tactic to, try and, you can't get Obama again because this is what's going to, and it just, it, it it's so hard nowadays to know really what is truth and what is not. Now, that's not to say that this couldn't be something that he wants to do, or he couldn't, adopt, you know, some, some points of it or some aspects of it.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately, because I wouldn't want anything that's in there. Some of the stuff in there is just ridiculous and stupid, and anything that's like some, 100-page thing on what we need, you know what I mean? Uh, the Georgia Guidestones always talked about population, being set at a certain number and stuff like that. So, and that's been around for forever, and nobody's ever taken that seriously. So
True.
it's hard for me to take stuff like this seriously because it's so outlandish and so wacky, some of the stuff that they want, that it's so hard to imagine that anybody would, even if he got everybody House and Senate and got every seat that he wanted. It's so hard to think that there wouldn't be people who would oppose that, because there would have to be, and people would be. I think you'd have too many people outraged, especially people on the Republican side, because
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I would say most Republicans are probably for it. I would say like majority Republicans are for it than they are
I mean,
against it. You don't have people that it's even Mitt Romney and a lot of people are saying how much the Republican Party has changed now because
sure.
of Trump. There's just a lot
I think that's
that's
a fair point.
different, and I mean, look, overall, I think he started strong on the interview, and I think he kind of lost his way about 45 minutes into it, maybe an
I
hour.
mean,
Um,
now let's make the point though. He did go. It was a 2 hour. It was a full 2 hour interview.
full two
They
hours.
did two
First
hours,
20
and
minutes was all assassination. So
yes.
he had
Now
about
wait though, we also had 40 minutes of dead air because of the quote unquote DDoS attack, which may or may not have happened.
yeah
But
we're
I do want to note that during the 40 minutes of dead air, we had 900,000 consecutive listeners in that space that whole time, that whole 40 minutes. Then once he started speaking at around like 8:40ish, 8:45, he concurrently held over 1 million people.
he
Now,
and then he said it was over 60 million during
which I don't know where like those what those numbers are. I don't know if like he's talking like if there's a simulcast going on somewhere else that we didn't know about.
right.
Because the only thing I knew that was going on was, obviously like streamers, political streamers who were streaming, you know what I'm saying, on their stream.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know what that is about. The 60, yeah, because I was thinking maybe Elon would say like what that. Oh yeah, well that's from, I'm broadcasting, a Starlink to fucking aliens in Mars. You know what I'm saying? They're watching it. Like but he didn't. And it was little, and that's again why I give him a 7.5, because it's little things like that that Elon didn't do, or didn't follow up on, or didn't say that I wish he had. That kind of make that a little low for me. Otherwise, like I said, to me, this was probably one of the better speeches, or not speeches, but better conversations I've heard him had. He was more
Yeah.
lively. He was very energetic for the whole 2 hours. And again, I will give him the credit of the fact that twice now, like I said, both here and on Aiden Ross's stream on Kick of all platforms. You take that for what it's worth. For the 40% of his audience that can't vote, there is still the 60% that can. And
Yeah.
again, the guy's able to pull that. And a point I do also want to give him, especially with what's going on here, and because I don't want us to get like conspiratorial. So like, I'm definitely not going to touch like on because I don't know what the real story is about the Waltz in his service. I don't know. I don't know if he ran away when he was supposed to go to Afghanistan and became whatever. I don't know. That's neither here nor there for me. This could, because there's always going to be dirt dug
About
up about everybody.
Tim Waltz.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sure.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
People are saying he was
yeah,
people on the right are saying he was a
yeah.
deserter. He didn't officially do this, or whatever. I don't know
Right.
about it. I can't, so I'm not commenting on that type of stuff. But I will because it is kind of like a back and forth that's going on right now between both sides. Is the whole thing about crowd sizes and rally sizes and your thing's not full, but I filled it up. You know what I'm saying? And this is what political talk has become now, is just kind of like this back and forth game, like a one upper, or
Right.
sometimes it's so bad where it's a one downer to the point where like especially with you look at Trump where he's got he's got 34 felony conviction, he's a felon, so everybody on the left is, he's a felon, he's a rapist, and then over on the other side, the right's throwing on the other side. Well, look at the Joe Biden. He, is taking showers with his daughters or whatever the hell you know what I'm saying? That's what they do, and they play a game of my guy's less rapey than your guy,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and that's
Exactly.
it's just
Yes.
so weird.
Yes.
And that really isn't political discourse. You know what I mean? Memeing
No.
somebody isn't making a point at all.
Right.
So and we're no exception to people who troll or
Right. Yeah.
bullshit people because it's online and it's the internet. But when you're trying to have real discourse and real conversation, you have to be somewhat adult about it. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but please go
No. No.
ahead with how you were saying how you thought about how he did it from your point of view, how you
Well,
thought he
yeah,
did it.
no, that was basically. I mean, look, I think it definitely turned into to like very much Elon praising the kind of like I said the dick sucking a
Yes.
little bit of and Trump leaned into that. He did his usual thing. It's going to be the greatest, the biggest mass deportation in history, and all these
Yep.
all his. He was very very happy and very pleased with all that. And I mean, I do understand it's hard for him to find a platform that is big like that and not
Sure.
bias and not and
That's and that's amazing that you say that because
mhm,
I don't think you would get a lot of people on the left side to say that because
yeah,
there is an actual bias towards a media bias anyways towards this guy
sure.
no
Oh,
matter what he
absolutely.
does.
Yeah.
Not to get ahead of ourselves or anything, and I don't mean to interrupt you again, but just since you touched
No,
this point, I think it is important. Uh, the policies that they're that they're both running on now. So a while ago, Trump came out with his no tips or no tax on tips and
right.
elderly Social Security. CBS came out with an article after he announced it saying how it was horrible and it's going to cost the American taxpayer like 250 billion,
Yeah.
something like that, or add that to the deficit. And now Kamala is running on a no tax on tax
Right, right, right.
platform,
She got
which
it.
to me
Yeah.
is a little bit lazy, but we could get to there when we get there. But
Well, yeah. I mean,
CBS, the same company though, writes an article about how this is an amazing thing for her to be doing. So
right,
that just
right.
proves
And
that
where
you
was
are
that
correct.
when Trump said it?
There
Yeah,
is a media bias a little bit
absolutely,
towards the guy. But
absolutely, no
anyway,
doubt.
please continue. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Yeah. So I mean, but even then, this kind of turned into a bias as well because Elon very much endorses and is for
Yes.
Trump and all that. And so, that's the other thing. It's Trump. It's always hard. He says so much and he goes so far with certain things that it's hard to like fact check him on the spot and do all this. There was this whole thing about that Elon literally broke down climate change and how it's real. and how
Yes.
like even though it may be off in years, it is something to worry about. It is something to be concerned about. Hence why he is trying to fucking leave the planet, like
Yes.
and colonize Mars and do other things. He knows what we've done to the planet is pretty much irreversible, and at some point, it's gonna be bad. Um, and he literally explains this out, and Trump comes back with, "Well, you know what I think is worse? I think nuclear, whatever is
Nuclear warming is
yeah,
what he said
nuclear
before.
warming is far worse, and nobody talks about it." And I'm like, what?
I mean,
Things like that he always does. I mean, he cannot, first of all, admit that he may be wrong on certain things. And you're talking to an expert
sure.
on climate change. The reason why
Well,
he
you're
has
talking to a very
Tesla,
smart guy. Yes, a very
yeah,
smart person.
one of the Tesla and all that. He is huge on eco-friendly and all these types of things, and
Yes,
and like so. Yeah, that was very interesting. Of course, some other things he said.
because they do seem to be a little bit they are kind of opposing views on that. Where Trump is, well,
Yeah.
because he did mention it a couple times too. I love your product. Like, but not everybody needs an electric car, Elon. Not every, we
Hmm.
still need gas. And he did bring up, and
Right.
I'm again, who knows, like you said, because it's so hard to fact check the guy. But he was talking about like how the electricity it would take just to make more of the charging stations and stuff like that, and how
Right.
inefficient it really would be to convert everything to fully electric when we might not have the electrical grid infrastructure, so to speak, to support all this, which is this I think that's a fair point to make. But obviously with him, he's going to be, I
I'm
think, a
not
little
gonna
bit
lie. I
more
see. I thought
exaggeratorial, you know what I'm
that
saying, like
came
he
straight
was.
out of his ass. I thought and I was shocked Elon didn't say anything because we have solar. We have all of these ways of harnessing power now without
Well,
gas,
see,
and I understand
yes,
like oil and all these types of things. Gas, they still have uses. They still have things and all that stuff. But
yes, because
I
he's all
think
about the
there's
drill baby
yes,
drill. We
yeah,
heard him
drill
say
baby
that
drill.
yesterday.
We're gonna drill baby drill. That's his.
He's all about the drilling and the fracking,
um,
which he parlays into jobs and stuff like that. So okay.
yes. The other thing is, I will never understand his. You know, instead of fully coming against these guys, these are world. I would say world. In their or not world, but in their countries, they're looked at as dictators. They are not. People do not like them. And he just continues to praise people like Putin and Xi and Kim Jong Un, and talking about we were the first. Let me tell you, he respect. And then the whole thing of Elon, like, oh yeah, well they respect you. Like I mean, I think this goes beyond like respect. Like he's calling them, like great people. They love their country, maybe in a different way, but they like very just weird stuff. That I'm like, I think is very easy to just come out and be like pretty much every other president, and denounce and say like, yeah, these things are fucked up that they do, and all that. And I don't think they're great people. They're like, and
I
it's
mean,
weird because Trump should know that. Like, as a businessman, you think he really likes every person he's done business with. Um,
oh, absolutely not. You're right
so
there.
that is kind of scary because that tells me he genuinely likes these fucking people. That's kind of scary to me. Like,
I mean,
um,
I can't really. There's not really like a. I try to take him because he is. And I'll admit it, like the first to admit it, he does say a lot of wacky shit, and he says things with no.
there was one point last night where Bob, we were listening together, and Bob goes, "Okay, just stop, please stop. You were doing so
Yes.
good.
Oh,
God damn it, stop."
yeah, because there's times he does. He rambles on when he shouldn't, and you know, again, I like the format they had because of the fact it's supposed to be, how me, you, and Brad were actually talking about. You want the guy to almost be like somebody, any president really, guy or girl. You want him to be like somebody you feel anyways like you can hang out with, have a beer with. talk
Right.
about daily stuff with. Not sit there and listen, to politics and stuff like that. So, but just necessarily just just like a normal Joe type of situation.
Exactly.
And there's times I felt like he was getting there with this because I think that's what like the format was allowing itself to be, and that's what. But again, that's just him though. That
Yeah.
really is him. So I try and take him a lot of the times at face value with what he says. I will be honest that I do give him a huge grain of rock salt when it comes to things he says because I always think of him as a person who if it hits his head he's just going to say it, and if he thinks he's right he's just going to say it no matter if it's 100% wrong. And not only will he say it, but he'll double, triple, quadruple
The
down
double.
on
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
and keep
Exactly.
going with it. So,
And again,
like,
like the climate change, instead of just saying like, yeah, you know what, you're right, and we need to find some sort of balance there because there's an issue, and at the same time, you know,
yeah, he,
our country thrives on this type of thing. So we need to. That's what we need to do is figure out something. Like you can just say that, dude. You don't have to like,
no,
you
I,
know,
I agree because you know how it comes off is it comes off like that
like you're a
he's
know-it-all, like you're some expert on
well,
everything.
not even that, but it seemed to me a little bit pandering towards like the oil and gas people. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously they're freaking
Well,
out
that's very
because of the
much his
bot.
crowd for sure. And
Exactly.
that's not to say like Biden hasn't not been kind to them here. He has
No,
done.
he has, but
He has kept. That is the one thing that Biden and him agreed on, that oil and all that stuff needs to be drilled here, and all that. You know, so he kept
I
on
mean,
on some of those things as well.
but yes, that's gonna be his base because and it's hard for me because I don't know too much about what she's. I've listened to her rallies, which
Mm,
are very hyped up, and
right.
I know she's got. There's a lot of people, because you're gonna get the never Trumpers immediately. Are gonna obviously ship. They'll ship to anybody who's not Trump, so they're gonna go to her immediately. But I do have. I question a few things. Again, I don't know the validity how 100% true is this, but I have seen things that since Trump did his interview with Adam Ross, that there's been a lot of TikTok and streamer, influencers, creators, whatever you want to call these people,
Yeah.
contacted by the DNC, either trying to get her on a stream or have them, um, do a promotion for the campaign and for her, stuff like that. Could be 100% true, could be 100% false. I have no clue. But when I see stuff like that, it makes me question then, if they're having such success over on that side, why would they need to do things like that? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? If he can pull a million views on a stream or something like that, she should be able to get on a stream or something like that and do that as well. She's had some good success with her fundraisers with the white guys and white girls and comedians and all these people for Harris raising money for her. I want to say that anybody who gave, because I did see a couple people, a couple articles on Twitter and stuff like that about people giving Trump shit because of his donation thing was right up top of this Twitter space for the whole thing. Um,
Right.
Everybody asked for donations during a
Yeah.
campaign.
Yeah.
That's
That's no.
nothing new.
Yeah.
To try and use that as like a oh he needs money. They all need money. They all
Yeah.
need money. If she
Exactly.
didn't need money, she wouldn't be having comedians and white guys coming out for her. Okay,
Right. Right. Right.
like everybody needs money in a campaign to keep it running. That's how you fund it. Um, but that stuff kind of makes me because, like I said, I'm looking forward to. I either want to, not even sit down. I'm mostly looking forward to a debate between these two because
Yeah.
that's, to me, in my opinion, if he's got any shot, that's going to be it. He's going to have to debate her strictly on policy. He's going to have to do as good as a job, I think, as he did. I think he's got to do a better job than he did against the last debate that he had because that was with Joe Biden and Joe was gone in that debate. It wasn't even. He really didn't even have to try. That was like a first round knockout, and that just kept
Hey,
going.
hey, hey! I can golf. I can golf. I can throw a swing. Hey, what? You're a sucker.
Yeah, yeah. That's
It
literally that's what it turned into a Till Tony sketch
was
like that's
horrifying. It was
yeah. So
horrifying.
he like that's to me, that's going to be the biggest key.
Yeah.
Because we really haven't heard too much about, at least I haven't too much about her policies, what she's going to do with the border. Um, Borders are not, whatever.
That's another
If you,
thing that like Republicans coined her as and stuff. She was never in charge of the border. She was never. She had,
I would now see, I
she
would
had
take the
certain.
opposite stance and say she was the border czar, as Biden appointed her.
No, she was. That was a coin literally termed her by Republicans. By Republicans, like that came from Republicans. So she
Okay,
had she did
well,
have a job at the border, and yes, she did neglect it and certain things like that. But
all
at
right,
the
well,
end
we
of the
don't
day,
have to call her the border czar, but
she doesn't have control of the border. She doesn't have full authority. That's another thing. That's what he
well,
said. She was totally in charge. She could have. These are the quotes from Trump. She was totally in charge. She could have shut down the border, and that's not true. The vice president doesn't have that type of power to do those types of things.
no,
And they never designated her like the White House nor the president the border czar. This was coined by Republicans. Her actual role involved diplomatic efforts with Mexico and the Triangle countries uh, to address the root of causes of migration, such as economic instability, violence, and crime, aiming to reduce the flow of immigrants at the source. She failed at that. She failed
yes,
at those
it's
talks, and
100%
absolutely
failed at the
yes,
border. Yes, we can
yes,
agree on that both. Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
yes. But this whole thing that Republicans are making and that Trump is making of that she has this kind of ultimate power over the border that like not even he had when he was in power. Like even he couldn't. He had to fight to keep certain people out and do
Yeah,
these types of things and all that. There's nobody has that power to just say we're shutting it down. No southern border, no time unless I would say there's probably like an imminent threat, like a terrorist threat or that type of thing that comes into
yeah,
play.
you'd probably have to. I
That's
believe
when those
somewhere
types
along
of
the lines,
situations. Yeah,
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 there'd have to be some sort of martial law or something
sure,
declared,
sure,
state of
sure,
emergency.
right, absolutely.
Which some of them may have the authority to do. I don't know how that fully works.
Right,
But either way, like I said, we'd agree on the fact that she failed that. So
yeah,
that's I think gonna be a big topic in the debates. I
sure,
hope, anyways,
sure.
because that's what he's gonna have to nail her on. You failed that. Now
Yeah,
again,
and she's
he's
gonna
gonna
have
be
to explain herself on it for sure.
exactly. Now we can already assume the fact, and I think it's fair to assume that throughout that he's going to call her the borders are 100%. She's going to turn around and say, that's 100% not true. So that's going to be a waste of time, in that topic of debate. I want to hear. We know from what he said yesterday, he wants to do a huge deportation of all undocumented and illegal aliens in the country. He wanted to do, I believe,
He
what
does
is it
have a
called?
couple other things I have issues with. He does want to children of immigrants born here that aren't like legal no longer have automatic citizenship. Um,
Yeah.
and I would
I'm
say
not
that that
100% sure how I feel about that, to be
I
honest.
would
I
say
don't know if it's good
that
or
might be
bad.
one of the like actual legit things, of coming to this country and seeking refuge here. Especially, I mean, look, you come here and have a baby, and for like do it, maybe yeah, but I would think that case is pretty rare. I would say most of the time it's they're coming here to have their kid, knowing that their kid is going to have a
100
better life and have a better these types of things that they won't be able to have. I mean, that's how my grandma came to this country. Another like, I think the
No, absolutely.
situation
That's a good
there
point.
that might be the one that's benefit that's benefited our country, to be honest, in a lot of ways. I think for the most part, a
Okay.
lot of kids that are brought here and get raised here have a lot of gratitude towards America, for the fact that they were brought here and born here, and they were born into citizenship in this country, and they want to do their part and stuff. That's kind of like for most people that I talk to in that situation, that's where they're coming from. Um,
I I think I would agree with you on that point. I don't think that is something that's probably something that I do agree with him on the deportation aspect, and we got to get our border under control. I'm
but even
glad
that's
that
got to be looked at, right? We have
well,
because we don't.
yeah,
I don't
that's
want the same situation that he did last time with the DACA students, and them being trapped here and that type of stuff.
Well, yeah, he's got to handle this. You can't
Yeah,
just be grabbing people and throwing them out. It has to be. We
there are
have to
people
make
that
sure.
still can't. My sister lives in Italy. Her in France. Her husband, tried to get work permit, tried to come here and visit her, before she moved out there. Like last year, she moved out there, but it was a whole thing. But because he couldn't,
Mhm.
it was really hard to come to the country or get a permit here or do those types of things. And
I think those are very valid concerns.
yeah,
And I would be very interested to see, not see, but I would want to know as well, like how he is, what he does plan to do about that, because those are issues, and those are things that do come up. Because again, you don't want to enact a policy like this, and then, like you said, be going after people who are attempting to come in the right way,
right,
or on a waiting list or something like that, or are here on a hold or a holder, whatever the case may be, a temporary visa, whatever it is.
yeah,
Um, if he's good, if because the thing he keeps driving and he keeps saying obviously is, it's that a lot of these countries are emptying jails over here. Now again, I don't know
right,
how true that is. We can only go by what he says, and then
yeah.
what other news tells us, and that's
I mean,
again,
I think if like everything, to be honest, I think like everything, it's probably a balance. You have Elon that
sure.
touted, "Oh, I went down to the border and I saw it for myself." Right? I saw these guys. They're not nice looking guys,
And it could be
Um,
true. It
and
could
then
not
you
be
have,
true.
and then you do have testimonies of border patrol agents and saying like, "No, they're they were families. They were women and children.
Yes, because
And
you're not always gonna get the
yes,
bad people, and you're not always gonna get
exactly.
the good people. It's gonna
There
be
is a
it's gonna be a
balance,
mix.
and there needs to be discretion of that type of thing, because even that can be kind of deceiving at certain times. So the fact is, most countries know right now that there is especially our triangle countries, as mentioned there, Mexico and our
Hmm.
borders, know there's a loophole with very easy access to our country
Sure.
right now, and that
Yeah.
is dangerous, and at the same time it is, I
Absolutely.
think that is also the result of years of, I think, people who want to come here with good intentions and good reasoning and all that may be in situations, that are really, I mean, people don't, I think, understand Mexico's bad. It's bad. You don't
Yes.
want to live in Mexico.
No.
I'm
No.
telling you right now,
The
you
cartels
don't
down
want to
there are
live
no
in
joke.
Mexico.
No.
um
And there are people that do come up here through there, and
yes,
they're responsible for a lot of the trafficking that goes on down there, and drugs
yes,
and guns and people and sex
and
trades,
it's very
and
sad because you have
it is.
situations too where people, especially in some areas, of Mexico, that is, you have a choice. You either sell drugs or you get in the cartel, and you do these things. And so even then, yeah, they may have, these women or children may have connections to the cartel, but it may be somebody just trying to get them out of it because they didn't have a choice.
Mhm.
They did, so there's, I think there's something behind everything. There's got to be a balance. It's got to be looked at because, like Elon said, there are bad people coming, and then you hear testimonies from border patrol agents saying like it's not all bad people. It's, and I'm sitting here like, what am I supposed to do? Like send these women and children on a boat back the other way to their death? Like what the like,
Yeah,
you
it's a
know?
very hard topic. It's very complicated,
Yeah,
but he has to have you have to have a plan.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and and and
and
obviously
and
she
the
needs to have
mass
a plan as well.
deportation thing isn't a good plan. And yeah, and her not
Well,
doing anything isn't, I think, a
I
good
think
plan.
I think it depends. I mean, it really depends on what, like, how he plans on carrying it out.
Right.
Because, like, again, I'm all for if you came in here illegally, if you're
But I mean, what does that look like? That's a wild thing, a
that's
mass deportation
it
thing.
is,
Where,
it
so what
is.
do we do? Do we round them up? Do we put them in a camp until we get them all verified and sent out to where they need to go? And do we pay
Well,
for where they're going back to? Where's
I
that
know
money coming from?
I know he mentioned like they have to now, like he wanted to implement something which is like I'm gonna butcher the name of it, but it's like a almost like a first like your
It's an internment camp. No, I'm kidding.
Like if you came from like another country, but you're trying to come up through Mexico to get to the United States. When you get up to the border, you have to you then get like you get put on the list to be approved to come in, but
Mhm.
you wait in Mexico. You don't wait here like they're doing now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
something like that might help, that'll help curb, I think, like the inflow and the influx. But again, like you said to your point, what does mass deportation look like? He could say
Yeah.
that all he wants, but I do need a little bit more clarity on that. So I'm hoping, obviously, I hope something like that does come out in the debate between them. I think that's gonna be a hot button topic for the both of them.
Yeah.
And if he wants any chance of winning, he needs to be able to show that he's got a solid plan for it, not just say that he's going to do it. And same with her; she's got to have a plan, because obviously that's going to be his attack in that point. As you and Joe have been here for 3 years, you've done nothing. That's going to be
Right.
his whole thing. You got the
Exactly.
worst border numbers. I got the greatest border numbers. Yeah, his whole that's and we know that's what it's going
Chart
so he's
saved
going to
my
be
life. Okay, the
yeah,
chart is never wrong.
yes. He said that yesterday too. Illegal immigration saved, but he did have a couple good one-liners yesterday. Illegal immigration saved his life. That was a good one.
Oh, God.
Um, I think in for anybody who is curious as to why I would vote for somebody like him in this instance. Obviously, it was only between him and Joe, and I
Right.
wasn't going to vote for that. Um, and there's really no independents or anybody that I really like running
You're not
this
an
year.
RFK man? Come on, bro. He's got to
Okay,
work.
listen. I do like his ideas, a lot of them. He does get a little bit kooky, I think, with the conspiracy stuff sometimes, which I'm a fan of, anyways. I
I
like
see
the
these
jujitsu
videos
that
of
he
him on Facebook where it's like somebody called him. He's like in a meeting or something, and somebody goes, "Hey, a friend of ours has a snake in their backyard. They need you to take care of. It's a friend down the street." He's on a Zoom call. He's like, "I'll be right back. I gotta do something." And he walks over, and like catches this rattlesnake in a fucking pillow bag. The man's dumping bear bodies in the middle of fucking.
in Central Park or whatever he's doing. Yeah, like I don't know what this guy's doing. Like, and I can look past all that shit.
Our
Like that I
future
can look
president,
past.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, like whatever. He hit a baby bear and didn't know what to do and just dumped it in Central Park. He got panicked. I can understand that, because you know what, I can relate to that. That's an everyman type deal. You, me, anybody who hits a goddamn bear cub in New York City. You don't know.
I just,
We probably do something similar, or not. We probably just drive away, which he probably should have done to begin with. I don't know why he didn't do that. But he picked it up and tried to like. I mean,
he
maybe
thought it
there
was
was
still
good
good. He was
intentions.
gonna skin it, and do the whole thing, but he couldn't get it home in time.
Yeah, I don't. God, but like I said, I can look past all that, like because I can look past a lot of things with Trump. But with RFK, it's his voice. I can't do that. I can't do 4 years of that. I can't listen. His interviews are so hard to get through because of that voice, and I feel bad because I know it's like not his fault. I think he had like something, and that's unfortunate. But to me, I swear that'll always hold him back. It'll always hold him back. Is that because
Yeah.
nobody will be able to listen to that for hours at a speech or on a
Look,
conference
we
call.
can
Yeah.
totally, well, first of all, he stumbles a lot.
Yeah, because he can't
Yeah.
talk. I mean, it's so hard for him, and I feel so bad. And it's like, listen, I
He's
don't
like, I
think.
feel so bad, but I can't,
Yeah.
I can't, I can't, I can't listen to you, man. I'm
And
sorry.
like, Putin's not going to respect that. You know what I mean? I don't care what anybody says. Kamala's got a better chance of being respected by cackling at him for, on the phone, trying to
Oh,
negotiate some peace in Ukraine over there. But like, not him. He can't. He can't do it.
not it.
He can't. He can't do it. It's
John,
unfortunate.
John
I
would be
feel
very
bad.
sad.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I feel bad because he's got a great lineage. Well, he does have a great lineage. Unfortunately, they all keep getting killed. But he can't. That voice is. He needs. I don't know why in
Try.
2024 we don't have some surgery that could help this guy out.
Just give him a
He really
robotic voice. Just make him
needs.
Stephen
He needs
Hawking at
something.
this point. Like, it's-
Anything, yeah, anything would be better than that because that is brutal. But I just.
oh, poor RFK.
I just feel, right now with what we got, the two candidates, I'm just, my opinion of her is, I don't know much about her because prior to this, she was, what was she, the senator or governor of fucking California?
Yeah, so yeah,
She was
governor, I
a,
believe, or
I know
something
she
like
was a
that.
prosecutor. She doesn't, people will bring up her prosecuting record, which I'm sure Trump will talk about. He'll talk about the thousand plus inmates that had to be released because she was keeping them in there as cheap labor, past their release date, stuff like that. She's a
Right.
very weird person. And we don't really know much about her policies. You go back to, God, what would it have been? 2020 was that with the debates with her and Tulsi Gabbard and stuff like that when Tulsi Gabbard was still a Democrat? Yep,
Yeah.
2020 debates. And I mean, she got absolutely murdered up there. Because she had, I mean, that's what they were bashing her on was her record in California because that's pretty much all she has. So, it's weird to me how, especially with Joe stepping down, she's the savior of the party. Like there's so many, and obviously it's not going to be this time around because it's such short. And right now there's just nobody to throw up there at this short time besides her. But there's people I'm looking forward to in the Democratic Party that are coming up, like an Andrew Yang. I think that's going to be a real fresh young guy to come up with some real good ideas, and he's got some good ideas. But it's just crazy, like the popularity she has, because I can't tell if people are just really genuinely excited because she's younger, or if she has
I
good
think so.
ideas,
That's it.
or if
No, I
she's
think
just
no. The big part is
a
that she's
woman.
young.
Like
I
I
think in that
like
too probably adds to it. I mean,
sure.
look,
I
you talk
mean,
about somebody that you'd want to have a beer with. She's like I said, the whole. I mean, even though I joke about it, yeah, the whole America's auntie thing and all that. She does seem very personable for the most part, and somebody
sure.
you could approach and sit down and have a genuine laugh with, or something like that. I think for the same with her VP pick, guy's gonna get a lot of boost because like he does a lot of like cute little videos with his daughter and these types of things, very family guy type person.
Yeah, and from what
He,
he's sold as the good old boy, a family like a Midwesterner. He goes
right,
hunting with his dog, and he's
right,
whatever he is a serviceman of some type. He
exactly,
served in
yeah.
something.
Um, so that, but before we transition to other stuff, we'll wrap up this with I wanted to talk about the final thing that Trump said that really got me was,
Yes,
of course, they got into Palestine
yes,
and other things. And his basic response for it, because Elon asked, how would you dealt with that and all that, and instead of kind of answering like the situation at hand, his response was, "Well, it wouldn't have happened. The Ukraine war wouldn't have happened. Palestine wouldn't have happened. Hamas wouldn't be back. All these types of things." And so I made a joke. I was like, "Oh yeah, so it'd be all petals and roses and we world peace. Everybody's singing kumbaya." He now is, can control these world issues that apparently, he's just gonna step in there and say, "No, don't do it. I'm spank you or some shit." Which I thought was another thing very interesting. How he talked about his negotiations with other countries and stuff. Which I do think you need to be stern and stuff and all that. But you know, it just I don't know if that comes off as something they like or something that they actually use against him. So
sure.
you know,
I mean, I guess it's. I mean, it's hard. I guess for me, the way I look at it is, he obviously, like you brought up, the way he talks about a lot of these leaders, which
yeah,
doesn't always, like you said, it comes off as like how he's talking
Mein
in an
Kampf's one of his favorites, man.
yeah, like in an admiring way. How he talks about these people, and I try and take that and not as I try and give him the benefit of the doubt. Let me say that he's not looking at this like, oh my god, I should be a dictator like that too. And like I think deep down, like he wishes, like he had, I think he wishes he could get the respect like Putin gets, but without having to like
The
kill like
respect Kim Jong
everybody who goes
Un
against.
gets. That's what he wants.
Yeah, he wants like that. He wants
But
people to
that,
look.
but he knows that respect is not earned.
Well,
It's not
exactly.
warranted. It's
Yeah,
not what that
but
is.
see,
That is
that's
out
the
of
thing,
fear.
and that's the thing I think he has a disconnect with. I think that's what he doesn't like really like. I don't think he gets that part. Like I think he goes like, okay, I got voted, all these people love me here. Now this
Right.
is what I want to do, and I'm going to do this. This will be my policy. And then somebody might be like, I don't agree with that. I think that's a terrible idea. And that just doesn't it doesn't register to him. Like, how could you think that? How? What do
Exactly.
you mean? Because you do see a lot of people, especially after his first run, you had a lot of people who were in his own, cabinet, who were in his own, circle who come out against him. Republicans who are probably not going to vote for him now because, they don't like the guy or don't like what he was about or didn't like his policy or didn't like the way he ran things or the way he talked to that something. You know what I mean? And,
Sure.
those are things that do hurt him because the average person sees that. And like you said, they might take that as, this guy really doesn't, he's not becoming of a president because everybody does have we all have an expectation of a president, what he should kind of look like, how he should present himself. Um,
Sure.
and, but he, from what we've seen in those first 4 years, he did seem to have, and I do not think it is bad for him to have good relationships with these foreign leaders because you need to have you have to have a relationship. Everybody does.
Yeah.
There has to be
Yeah. Well,
some sort of respect there
good
because
relation, but
otherwise,
that's what I'm saying. He knows that he's a businessman, and he's done business with
yes,
people he doesn't like. He knows business is necessary, right? We
yes,
interact, we trade with these countries, we do this and that, right? It's all
yes.
necessary to the flow of how things go, and so. But
I
with
mean,
that, he doesn't need to be coming back and going. They're great people. They love the country. We love that, and Irish and blah blah blah. And like,
I think
I
that's fair.
I
That's fair.
think
You're
it's
right. He doesn't need to be doing
that's
that.
concerning to me because
Sure.
that does feel genuine. If you're that type of businessman and all that type of stuff, you do these types of things. You saying that about somebody is kind of meaningful. When you don't like somebody, you don't like somebody. When you do like somebody, I mean, to this day, right? Even when he praises Ted Cruz and stuff, I still get this little undertone from him of just like he fucking hates him.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah. He probably got, but I think that goes
but
both ways. That's on both
exactly.
sides though, because we could go back
Sure,
to,
yes, yes, yeah.
because you could
But
go
that's
back
what I mean.
to,
He knows that's the
yeah,
business of it, right? That's what we got to put on
exactly.
the show, right? Kamala and Biden famously
I,
went hard at each other, and then they ended
I
up
mean,
teaming up for the presidential
exactly.
election. So,
Exactly,
so
exactly. So
absolutely,
it
there's
goes both ways, but I think he could probably, like I see it's hard because like it is off-putting when people hear him tell like a story like he told um yesterday in the thing where he was talking about Kim Jong Un there and how I called him Rocket Man and he said he had a red button on his desk, but I told him I got a red button on
I got
mine
it.
and it's
I
bigger
got
and
it
it
bigger.
works.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
and then tweeting like, "Oh, Rocket Man," because obviously they have Twitter there too, and he's looking at that like, yeah, because that could come off like, dude, you're
You're
not
gonna
that
start
like
a
I'm real,
war on Twitter, bro?
yeah,
Oh
like could lead
god.
to this dude like actually like wanting to
And then
fire like one
it's
of his
funny, Trump
non-working
follows that
rockets.
up by saying like, and he's got nukes. Don't be people think
See,
he doesn't.
yes,
He's got and I'm like, so then what the fuck are you doing?
yeah,
like
but I guess my thing with that too is because of the fact that during his time in his first 4-year run, North Korea didn't do anything. That little fucker didn't do shit. He did
Right.
nothing. There was nothing going on there, which was crazy. They had like 4 months of no demonstrations, which hasn't happened in like 100 years, because that's
Yeah.
all they do over there is have demonstrations and
Yeah.
fire shitty rockets like 5 miles away, and then do it again next week. And that dude just gets praised all day. But like, so it's kind of like, well, if that works, we might not like his way of doing it, but if he could keep these people in line, and now I don't agree, you can't just sit there like he was doing and say, oh well, if I was just in there, this wouldn't happen, because you don't know that. You
Right.
can't
Right.
you can't really say that. Like he's gonna say that, but I don't think it's not 100% either way. That could go either way there. Maybe it couldn't happen if you were in there. Maybe you wouldn't have allowed it. Maybe it does happen and it's 100 times worse. We don't know. So that's like that type of stuff. Yeah, that's stupid rhetoric that he puts out. That's just him. That's how he sells himself. That's the business bullshit salesman, fucking TV star person.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but I do understand how that, and then like you said with the, oh, they love their thing, they love they don't really love their country, they love their power. Let's be honest. A lot of that,
Yeah.
that's basically what a dictator does love. He loves his power, which is why that's why he's a dictator, and that's why he rules, and why nobody else can do anything about it because he's the only one with the power. Um,
Daddy Kim.
so so exactly. So I do agree that can be concerning, and that can be very off-putting for people to hear, and especially I think young people too, because and I mean you have a lot of different ideologies going around now that float around. People want to try and bring back different forms of communism or whatever it may be, or Marxism. People talk about they want to try again, like it's whatever. So,
Right.
but people hear this stuff, and when they hear you talking about, especially now when you're getting, we know North Korea is not the greatest place, and Russia, they're just Russia's just bad no matter what, because they're picking on little Ukraine over there. So it's just anything out of there is just a no go.
Little
So it's
Ukraine.
yeah, little Ukraine, little $250 billion of our money Ukraine. But so it's like you just, it is. It's people are gonna hear that and just be like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like you're saying, it's just that concerns me that you're saying that you're praising dictatorship,
Right.
which I agree with. Because
And
I'm
that's one of my many concerns, which we'll still get into.
sure
So, I
exactly.
want to kind of cover a little bit of what Jon Stewart talked about last night
Yes, please.
on the Daily Show.
And in all
Um,
fairness, I didn't see this, but so you explain to me so I know the
yeah.
deal here.
And now I will say this because there is still a lot of stuff right to wait on as far as like we talked about Kamala's policies, these types of things. I've been saying absolutely her thing. I think that has her ahead right now is that she's young. I think her VP candidate, and I think it's the I think it's the fact too that and Republicans I think will say this is a bad thing, but I think Trump does the same thing too. Is that she's not like you know completely set. She's open to changing her mind. She's open to working with certain things and balancing things out, finding a way to where like in a sense, yeah, let's try and please everybody. Which I get kind of the Obama vibe from, which I like that. Like I feel like she can work across the aisle in that sense of like you know, she's more open to policies and realizing like, okay, there's going to be some sort of balance here. We're not all going to like and love it, but everybody's going to get a little bit of what they want. You know,
Sure, like she
um,
might be able to get more bipartisan stuff done between both
yes,
parties.
which I
Whereas
think
he's
that's
probably going to
a big deal.
he'll get resistance on mostly anything he wants to do, if
Yes,
especially
yes,
if we have like split house and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be absolutely. I think I would agree with that 100%. That I think it would be a little bit easier for her for stuff
yeah.
like that. Absolutely fair.
Um, so here we are. This is my main thing too with Republicans because she doesn't have much of a policy, and we can only really attack her on her border stuff and assuming that she'll probably run on a lot of Joe Biden policies or whatever. So criticizing her past and stuff, like everything that Trump and the right has been criticizing Biden for, they just basically switched out for Kamala. So I thought this was kind of
That was good.
so.
That was a very good bet.
I thought that's another thing because it was funny that you did that because in my head I I thought that's what was happening, and I'm like they're just attacking her on kind of either the fact that she may or may not have sucked dick to get her way to the top,
Sure. Yep.
you know, or that her
Identity
husband
politics.
cheated. Which how many times has Donald Trump done that?
Yeah.
Just very like hypocritical things, or just like nothing burgers, like this, like fear tactics. The end of the world, World War III, the Great Depression, fucking, like
No, you know what? Absolutely. I think that's a lot of the reason too. I think why she hasn't really done any interviews yet.
mhm,
Because I think that is an advantage of her, that they really, like you said, they don't have much to attack her on besides her
sure,
past record in California and bullshit. Um, Everything else they have to attach. from her just anything that Biden did.
Yeah.
Basically, they have to because they don't have anything. So, and that's why he's gonna be like just repeating himself over and over until. And again, that's it. All rests on a debate. It all rests on these debates. It really does, because until she has to be put into position with a question and an answer. You got to
Yeah.
answer. You got a million people watching you. What are you gonna do? Um, because right now, yeah, she could sit back and I mean, it is smart. She could sit back and do nothing and let him, do this and just keep putting it on him that, oh, look at him, he's getting unhinged, he's getting crazy, he just keeps talking about this bullshit, and that's what I wish he would stop doing. And because again, he should just keep. He should keep doing what he's doing. Again, I gave him the credit for the streams and the thing with Elon, and I even gave him, when I was talking to you when we talked before, I gave him credit for going to the Black Journalist Convention there,
Right.
even though
Right.
that was a shit show. He still went to the Lions Den where nobody there
Is she
wanted him or
even
liked
black?
him.
I don't know. Yeah, all the black
Yeah,
people. Oh, motherfucker! Damn the
yeah.
hell you think you say, motherfucker?
Talking about him being late and shit like that.
It
Oh my
turned
god, he
into
was
it
just.
turned into a Tyler Perry movie a little bit. It was
Yeah,
pretty.
it absolutely did. But again, I'll give him the credit for going there because no Republican has gone there in like 20 years. So, like, good for him on that. And it's things like that have, I think, an enduring factor. Not talking about the crazy people because, again, I think, in my opinion, both sides have gone completely off the rails. Like, there is no normal base anymore. I don't think. I think more a majority, and I'm generalizing here for both parties, not saying this is a representation of everybody, because obviously, me and you being in two different categories here of a political
Right.
spectrum, we're not an extreme right or an extreme left.
Yes.
We'll acknowledge various good ideas from either side, and
Yeah.
we're open. Whereas right now the world of politics is it's a line in the sand, and which side are you on? Mine, you're either
Absolutely.
with me or against me, and I don't think you're ever going to get anything accomplished that way, um, because I think instead of you don't turn elections anymore into ideas at some point. Now because that's what this should be about, their ideas, and instead it's like, well, one half likes this guy, the other half doesn't like this guy. You know what I mean? And that's it. And it's just there's no there's just no common understanding, and I think we're headed for a point where we can. I hope it's not like this, because and we talked about
Well,
this too. That
and
oh, go
that's
ahead. No,
well, that's the thing. Okay, going back to something you said at the very beginning is I think with Trump, it's much more likely that we're heading to a much scarier point of divide, and
sure,
because he encourages those types of things. He does these things. He gives nicknames to the left and to people who are, believe certain things or have certain ideas, or he encourages this culture of talking down and insulting and, low IQ and all this type of stuff, like exaggerating and fear mongering, and, you know, kind of turning to another topic here, I would say, people like him and Elon even more so, they are two of the most influential, powerful people in the world, or at least here in America. I would say, the Elon more so for sure, but I would say
yes,
Trump because of his base and how loyal they are to him. Um, see how many videos of him coming out and saying like he gets convicted and all this type of stuff and blah blah blah. Oh yeah, I'm still voting for it. I don't care. Blah blah. Um,
yeah, they don't,
even if it
they
comes,
they don't care.
they've gone as far as to ask him like he killed somebody, you would still vote for him. Yeah, he probably
He
had
probably
reason to
would.
do it. Yeah, like all that type of stuff. Like that's where people are at with him, and that's I think it's a very close thing to why I say, is he Hitler or any of these? No, but I think there's a lot of traits and there's a lot of things. He admires those people. He obviously is using
Oh,
some of
sure.
their tactics. And I think that's scary. I think anybody with that much power and that much influence is scary. Um, and especially when his history has proven how much he'll change to get what he wants, and what he'll do to get what he wants. Um, so that's a big concern for me, is that, like, I do think, with him, I do partly fault him because I don't think he's stupid. I think he knows what he's doing, and I think it's going to get to the point where either he doesn't know how to handle it or what to do, because it's just going to get out of control, or he'll kind of go all in and will become that kind of dictator type person. I can see, like, he's now made that believable for me based off of the past 8 years that I've watched of him in politics. Because I wouldn't have said that his first 4 years for sure.
Mhm.
Until the whole election coup thing.
Um, I mean, as far as that, I like it, and you know this. I disagree as far as like the dictator stuff.
Yeah,
I have way too much faith in our Constitution and people in general that if he did try and do anything as dumb as try and suspend an election or anything like that, or extend terms for presidency, anything like that, I would hope that everybody on both sides would like that should be the wake up call.
right.
That is when I say you actually you actually have an insurrection and go down there
Yeah,
and remove somebody.
yeah,
Um, so like I don't like I said, it's hard for me to see stuff like that happening. Because again, and he's talked about a lot of times too. He likes to talk about the deep state or draining the swamp of these people, and I think like that in a sense is good to think about because you don't nobody wants to keep going down the same status quo that we've always been going on because
right.
obviously nothing's working and it hasn't been working. Nobody wants wars, nobody wants high prices for anything. People want to be able to get up, go to work, buy a house maybe, or afford an apartment, buy some clothes, some entertainment and food, and take care of their kids if they have any, or whatnot, um, for the most part. And I with the way that I mean, in a sense, he did change the entire political sphere
Oh yeah,
with him coming in because it's changed how people, it's changed how debates are done, it's changed how political attacks are done.
yeah,
Where like you said, where a long time ago people used to just attack policy, straight policy. Well, he did this and he
yeah. It
said
was
this and
about
this,
policy,
and
even all the way leading up until um, Obama and McCain. I
yeah,
loved how much those two guys had respect for each other.
yes, and
And
it
yeah,
just now he did. He changed it to where it is. It becomes more of a high school name
right.
calling back and forth, and you know I'll admit, do I enjoy the entertainment of that?
Yeah, we troll. Oh yeah, we have fun.
Yeah, and I do. I
Yeah.
like when I do get a laugh when he's talking his shit because he can talk his shit and he is funny as hell sometimes.
Yes.
But again, there are times when even I'm like, okay, I need substance out of it. I need to know what you want to do and what you are doing. Um, but it's I and like I said, we talked about this. It's hard for me to put all the blame on him, but I do agree that he does. He knows that the most extreme side of his base is going to follow him, off the
Yeah.
face of the earth.
Yeah.
Um, I do agree that there's I think there's people on both sides who take both rhetoric of either party to a far extreme. Um, Again, I agree with you that as well, though, that a lot of his people have been known to be a little bit more extreme and go a little bit far. Um, Again, even though I know he's playing to them to keep them as a vote and get them riled up.
Yeah.
I don't think his intention is such so that they do cause any trouble or harm or become complete just assholes to everybody. I think he's trying to rile up a passion in a sense, but I put the blame on these people because they are supposed to be adults.
Yeah,
And yeah,
sure.
you can your candidate can rile you up and get you passionate and yeah, my guy's gonna win and he's gonna put more money in my pocket and he's gonna deport these people and he's gonna make us safe. That's fine. I don't agree with either side rioting, beating up cops, beating
Right.
each other up.
And
I
all
think
this
that
ridiculous crap.
I'm fine with the protest. Um, you want to, you're not happy with something, sure. Everybody's got a right to protest on either side for any reason, whatever. That's fine. We talked about like with the stuff with Mike Pence and on J6. Do people need to be out there, like threatening to hang the dude if he
Yeah,
doesn't,
very.
not do what Trump says? Like, no, no, no. And could that whole situation have been handled better by Trump and him being more vocal about his wishes for people not to be violent? Yeah. Do I know if that would have changed the outcome of anything? I don't know. I honestly don't because a
Yeah.
lot of them people, like you said, were so riled up with him and wanted him to win so bad. And again, it's it is different to the extent of how crazy people got at that point. But again, when 2016 came around, people were getting crazy on the left as well,
Yeah.
throwing themselves in the streets, screaming up to the sky. Now they might not have
Sure.
been trying to.
But that's the thing. It didn't get to that point.
It didn't. No,
It was
it didn't.
mainly online or whatever, or
No,
you had
no,
a couple
you're
protests
you're
and
100%
stuff,
right. It
and all
wasn't
this.
as
Yeah.
severe.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
to me, when I look at that, I don't agree with anybody doing that. Now, I don't look at that. I don't personally, and you can say I'm wrong, and people can comment and say I'm an asshole or I'm wrong for this, but I don't agree fully that that was a quote unquote insurrection.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
want to see a quote unquote insurrection, which is basically people having foreknowledge and actually like devising a plan to overthrow the government. A lot of these people were there and then just kind of decided to go do all this crazy shit when they didn't get their way.
Mhm.
Nobody initially, I don't think, showed up with the intent of we need to switch out governments today and get people out and
Well, he had said, "Come down. We're gonna march. I'm gonna march with you and stuff." So
yes.
there was some. So, yeah, in extremist minds, I think yeah, there was some idea of
Sure,
like,
they could take that far, which again I
"Daddy's
put all
taking
the
over."
yeah, I put all the blame on those people for doing that. You know what I mean and stuff like that. But
Mm.
I so that being said, it's just I especially now with this election here, um, I do have similar concerns for from both sides of a repeat event of such, because I have
I
heard
I don't see the Democrats going that far. Still, I
I
still
do
and if they did, I
I
would
do
switch up and stuff and then say. But I don't.
I
I
I
don't
think
see
you
them doing. I think they're playing into the rhetoric because he is. He's so into this whole like what like we just saw. It's the end of the world. It's the depression. It's all of this type
well
of stuff.
sure. Well, sure.
And so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what he's using.
Dems are playing into the rhetoric as well as saying like it's the most important election ever. Your
Oh yeah,
rights are
he's
on the
gonna.
line.
Yeah,
You're
democracy's gonna
all
go
this
away if he gets
right.
elected. Yeah, yeah. They
You
got
know
theirs and he's got his. Yep.
yeah. So I think I just but I don't see them going that far. I would
I
be very
mean,
surprised if a group of like a large group of Democrats like that, and I know very quickly that Biden or whoever or Harris would very as soon as it started to happen come out and say this shit ain't right, stop it, shut it down. This is not how
I mean,
we
you
do
would hope
shit.
so, but then again, you're relying on if that's the case, and that is something that happens. You're relying on people to actually take that. You know what I
Right,
mean? And
right,
I don't think either side can be trusted as far as this. Now, maybe like you said, I could agree with maybe they don't go as far. Maybe
yeah.
they're not storming an official government building.
Hmm.
Um, but I think I mean it more in the sense that I think no matter which side gets the win, the other side's going to cry foul.
Probably
Some
now, yeah, there'll be some sort of
in
cry
some way.
of upset or
Yeah.
whatever, and yeah,
Obviously, I have really no doubt in my mind that no matter what the outcome is, or no matter how big the
well, I
margin of
think
victory is, I think
what
there. I know Trump is gonna ask for a recount if he loses.
I
100%.
think
I have a feeling he will.
for legitimate Democrats and for legitimate liberal like me, the decry will be, the same thing that I said in 2016, which was, and this could happen again, where he loses the popular vote and he wins the electoral vote, therefore becomes
Which
president
is
of
what
the
you need.
United
Yes,
States. And
that's
so,
that's a big possibility.
right,
That's
sure,
something to consider. That could happen.
sure. And so that's, you know, that is, yeah, that could very well happen and stuff. He has lost the popular vote each time,
Yes.
and so it's yeah, I that's the only thing that I now, yeah, a lot of Democrats decry and I decry. I was like, this is why fucking the electoral college sucks dick and all this other shit, but yeah, I that's the only thing that I can think of that is like legitimate. Will probably be pissy about for a little bit, and then by the time he's in office, it's and doing the inauguration, it's usually over. Like
Yeah, I mean, it is, but I just think, like I said, I think either side is going to ask for some sort of recount on either.
probably, yeah.
Now here's my thing, and I'll be 100% honest with this, and this is right on a conspiratorial line, which now I will never sit here and say that I don't think I don't know how 81 million people voted for Joe. I don't claim that it was rigged or anything like that. I don't agree with it because we don't know. We have no proof. There's nothing. All we know is this guy got 81 million votes, which, whatever, fine. Most votes, and more than Obama, more than the
Right,
first black president of the United States of America, this
right.
guy got.
But I think that was a reaction to the 4 years of Trump and the rhetoric and everything
Exactly.
that happened. And
But
so
now here's my
that
thing.
that brought out a lot of Gen Z people and a lot of younger. I think that is
Yes.
yeah, that's the largest young vote that they've ever had. I think in any election. So
The
is that
the only way I would even consider crying foul myself and saying, hey, I think this should be looked at is if she manages to clear like 82 million.
I think she will. But I don't think that's. I
If
think
you
that's
think
plausible. I think that's plausible because she's
I
not
don't think
even.
it's plausible.
And this is now. This is also. I'm saying this if the election happened tomorrow and that happened, I think that makes sense based off what we know right now and all that type of stuff. Things could very well change and all that. But she's got a lot of hype going for her. She is the youngest, candidate in a while too.
Even though
For
I think that's a major
Democrats,
factor,
it is a major. It's going to be
I just
a
don't.
big thing. There's
I
that
don't think it's that
youthfulness,
major. I don't think it's
that
that major to where
youthfulness.
she getting that people that many
Um,
because that's eating into
I think she's
Republican
going to
base
get
now.
a lot of, well, for sure, a lot of undeciders. I think is definitely going to, and young undeciders are going to influence that absolutely.
Well,
Um,
let me ask you this: do you think though, with young now, let me ask you, what do you think the young vote is made up? Now, do you think like a lot of young males are going to vote for her, or do you think he gets more of the young male vote? Because I could see, personally, I could see a majority
okay,
of the young
so
male vote going to
he's
him because he got a lot
well,
of whatchamacallit guys out there, a lot of people that
yeah,
follow.
he's going to get a lot. It's the same thing that happened in 2016 in past years and all that. He's going to take the South and the Midwest, right? And all that whole area. Probably both men and women. A lot of young women too are for him in the Midwest. Um, but that's the big thing over here on the West Coast, and
Hmm.
probably at some points on the East
That's
Coast
where he's
too.
going to have his troubles. Yeah, on the
There's
coast,
there is a
most
there was a
states.
lot of like there people just were not going to vote. They don't like Trump, so we're not going to vote for him. Biden's too old and incompetent, and I don't feel comfortable voting for him. Um, and that simple issue of like now, yeah, we have a young gun, we have somebody that for the most part we feel, like I said, can is just again you talk about personable. She's always trying to be involved in the young stuff or whatever and all that like she's got that going for her very much so, and I think the big
I
thing
think she
for her
does too.
too is going to add on to her success is her VP pick. Her VP pick is somebody that, yes, he has progressive views and all that type of stuff, but like I said, he's also someone willing to sit down, meet people halfway, do these types of things. So there are a lot of centrists that like him, because he's willing to do that. He's not like some over, you have to stick to my progressive ways and stuff. He did a lot during the Trump years, that wasn't very progressive, and of course when a Democrat president came in and things changed and all that, he was able to do more progressive things. So that's where the upset is with him in the last few years.
Mhm.
But even then, much stronger pick than somebody like JD Vance,
Yeah,
and what
I agree
Trump has got
100%.
going on there. You're like, I think people are starting. That's the thing. It's going to be very clear now because it was clear they were both old and Trump had the upper hand. Now it's going to be clear. Oh, Trump is old, and like yesterday, he's slurring his words and he's rambling and he's doing this and he's just like, now it's becoming more
Well,
apparent.
yeah, well, and not only that, but now the Democrats have what he had against Biden, using
Mhm.
that he's old. Now they have that with him because now with a young candidate, now you can say that. Look at this guy. He's going to be 82
Right.
at the end of his term.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
easy.
Even Elon said that 2 years ago.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, I think the young vote, yeah, that's definitely it's going to be interesting. Because again, you have a lot of you have a lot of young men out there who are being raised by Andrew Tate, and that seems
Right.
like the Trump. That seems like a perfect demographic for
But you
Trump.
also have
So
a lot of young men that, for the most type, who are in not Andrew Tate type healthy relationships and those type of things. That I think, yeah, the women will be influential, in that type of thing.
well,
I think
I
also,
would think 100% because now
yeah,
because this does
yeah. Oh, my
again
wife's voting for Kamala. I gotta,
well, yeah, or like you said, even
it,
for young people, who's
yeah,
not going to listen to their girlfriend? Who, you know what
right,
I mean? And are you going to really want to start an argument over,
right.
a fun
Over that,
this?
yeah,
But and that's going to be the big thing. It's one thing for all these people to turn out to rallies and stuff like that. You got to get out there and vote. You got to get out there, especially the young people, because you know, there were years when I was young that I didn't vote because I didn't give a shit or just didn't want to go or who cares? You know what I'm saying?
hmm,
And again, it's one thing to hype all this up and we're moving forward and we're doing this and come to my rally and
right,
fucking Megan the Stallion's there and that's great and that's how
yeah,
you
yeah,
get young people in the door to hear your message. You know what I
yes,
mean?
yeah,
But they have to care, number one, and number two, they actually have to get out and show up.
yeah,
Because anybody could say they're going to, you know what I'm saying? But something happens, your fucking shopping spree you want to go on, or whatever the
right,
dumb fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? Fucking
exactly,
PewDiePie streaming that day. You don't want to go vote. It don't matter.
yeah.
But that's gonna
You,
be the big thing. They need another big turnout. Um, but yeah,
which I think they'll get. I think they are. They're going to
I think it
continue
will
on
be a
that
big
point of
turnout
that.
this year.
Like, yeah, it's this is a critical election. It's an important election and all that.
Absolutely.
Trump is
I just
back and he's back to his old ways and all that. And
I
so,
just do not see her. And like I said, I swear to God, like I will. I'm gonna be out there with Trump crying foul if she breaks Joe Biden. If she gets 82 million from
I think if
somebody
she
who,
continues on the same path that she's on now and everything goes well, she puts out her policies and people like them and all that. I think so. I think this could be the biggest
I mean,
turnout in
I'm not saying
history.
she
I
won't
think
get
it.
votes, but I just don't think I would expect this to be more close than it is a more blowout for either side.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not going to be gaslit like everybody. I can't. Nobody cared about this woman. Nobody gave a shit about her.
No, 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 no. I
Nobody
agree.
cared.
Yeah, she was not on anybody's
Nobody
radar
cared.
and stuff. But
So
but again,
that's why it comes off like if I was going to rig this election, that's what I would do. I would have her break every record because she's the first woman of color and this and that.
right,
I'd have her break every voting record there is. I don't care. But
right. That's going to be a big
just
deal for sure.
I can't see it. I can't because
I think it
just
may
nobody
happen.
gave two shits. I mean,
I think it may happen.
if
But
it
that's
does,
the
I'm
thing.
all for him calling for a recount because I need
People,
to see it to believe it.
people didn't give two shits. But I think now, again, they do
I mean,
because, again, it's just things are very different now. There is a hopefulness and a liveliness that she somehow has and brings to her,
they are.
kind of campaign and just herself. She's always had that kind of energy.
Yes.
I think,
I mean,
to a point where, yeah, people say it's cringe. She does say some cringy shit and all that type of stuff.
yeah, she does. She says a lot of dumb shit,
I've
and
seen
that's
some
why
some funny
I need her
videos.
to get to a debate.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
at the same time, though, you're right. She's injected an energy into the Democratic Party right now. The DNC is coming up in like a week or so, or whatever it
yes,
is.
yes,
So we'll get to see a little bit there. Hopefully, she talks. She'll give a little. She'll give a speech or whatever. But I want to hear some things from her because I need to. I want to hear what she's about. I
yeah,
give her a fair chance to say I don't. She's not my pick by any means. She's not who I'll vote for at any cost. But I'll hear out her ideas because again, she could very well be the very next president of the United States. So I want to at least know what the next 4 years are going to somewhat look like.
yeah,
I really hope it's just not a continuation of what we've already had for the last 4 years, because then there's no point in getting somebody young in. You know what I mean?
right.
If you're going to be the president, fine. And if your whole thing is running on this youthful energy, well, then show me that. Come up with some new progressive ideas, something,
Yeah,
anything,
yeah. There's got to be some new
anything.
policies. Absolutely, yeah. And that's going to be
You know,
interesting to see is where she presents that, when she presents that.
and
Um,
and again, I think it's also going to be important, to know to find out how she wants to handle this Palestine and Israel conflict, how she wants
yeah,
to handle Russia and Ukraine, because these are serious things and I don't want to sound like Trump, I don't think either one of these conflicts could lead to a world war. I don't think it matters who's going to get into the presidency. It could
yeah,
happen either way. So
absolutely. Yeah, no,
I'm not
Trump
gonna,
ain't going to stop it if he gets in there.
yeah,
If World War Three's
if it
coming, it's
yeah,
coming.
exactly. If it's coming, it's coming. But again, I'm interested to know how how are you going to handle it?
Personally, yeah,
How are you going to step up to a Putin, a guy who's not afraid to not only weaponize his government but use it to kill people he doesn't like sometimes,
right,
especially when they
absolutely,
don't do what he wants or says the wrong thing or goes against, like, he's not afraid of doing stuff like that. This is a guy who's ex KGB. He's a monster. So
yeah, no, absolutely. She's got
and
to she's got to make
and
clear,
yes, and that's one of my concerns, because it doesn't, obviously old man Joe wasn't really too hard on the guy or giving him too much grief. All he was really good for was just opening the checkbook, it seems. And this
right?
shit's been going on for however long it's going on with no end in sight. And people on both sides are needlessly dying, you
Yeah,
know. And this is, and we have two regions and two countries where, you know, you, you have places fighting over pieces of land, and there's people dying on both sides. There's innocent people, especially when you look at Palestine and Israel.
yeah,
There's innocent people dying all over the place. You know what I mean? Kids and women, and just it's terrible. It's bad. It's really bad.
yeah,
You know. So these are important things that are going to need to be discussed, because I it's fine if she wins, and that's great, but I don't like the fact that, I guess it does bother me a little bit, that you're gonna just get the people, well, she's a woman and she's not him, so I'm voting for her, that have
sure.
no idea,
But you
and
had that with Hillary too, and you're going to have that with,
absolutely.
that's going to
Well,
be,
I
honestly,
don't
that's
know. Do
going to
we
be
really have that with Hillary? Because nobody liked that lady.
yeah,
As much as them polls tried to convince you people did, nobody voted for her. She got
yeah.
just walloped.
I
But
think that's always going to happen, though, at least for that
yeah,
first person, that
it's gonna
first
happen on
woman,
both
that first
sides.
Asian
But
person, that first, like everything that she's getting, right?
yeah,
So,
but it's
but I did
it's
want to.
just those
Oh,
two.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Yes, please. No. Go right ahead.
Well, no, no. So to correct, because I was probably going to move on
Oh,
to a
that's
clip.
fine. I was just gonna say that that's it just sucks, because either way, on either side, if voters even like that, who are just, well, I am voting for no Democrat ever, and I mean
Right,
nobody but Trump,
right.
and if that's what ends up, getting that person in, if the even if it's somebody you want, if the policies still suck and it leads to bad things, or these wars continue, you
Yeah,
know, it just it it goes to what we're talking about here, and what we're trying to avoid is where these politics are just crumbling into just my guy or your guy, and that is it.
Exactly, exactly. So here we have Cuban talking a little bit, and I know he talked a little bit on Vivek's thing earlier this week and some other places. But I found it very interesting because I think this is kind of relatable to a lot of people in that, like, he was also interested in Trump when he came on the scene and stuff. And so
Yes.
let's hear what the Guido Cubano of the
Is
Dallas.
that you? Is that
It was Cuban.
everything's going great? Everything's working.
But yeah, I thought that was very interesting because again, a lot of
No,
points there
absolutely.
in that. He looks like and plays it, but when you get to know him behind the scenes and you actually hear him and stuff, like you said, we don't go to people's houses. I'll let the religious people deal with it. Like he knows what he's doing. He's
Absolutely.
very well aware of all those things, and that
Yes.
to me is concerning and scary because it's not for good intentions. It's not any of the things that he came onto the scene saying that, like, oh, I'm going to be the politician that does things differently. Like, no, now you're just doing the exact same things, but now you've got a ridiculous amount of power behind you and people and you can say things that people don't fact check and take as gospel and refuse
Sure.
to look at the facts and stuff. And I think he knows his base, he knows what he's doing and stuff, and I think that's a concerning, scary type of thing to me, at least.
I mean, I think that's fair to have that type of concern. I don't entirely feel like I do see the concern there. I 100%
Yeah,
do, and I recognize it. I also think that he is, because of the fact of how like, I do think that was, as that clip suggested, and like Mark Cuban said, that was the a lot of the of appeal. People loved him because he wasn't your run of the mill politician. He didn't talk like one.
exactly.
He wasn't politically correct. People endeared themselves to that. You know, he made a lot of promises. Obviously, he didn't fulfill all of them. Again, like I mentioned earlier, with the talking about eliminating the deep state and draining the swamp of the status quo. And I mean, the hope is that, I mean, you want that to happen regardless who gets elected, because
Sure. Yeah.
our I think our government needs a huge overhaul, huge, in a
Absolutely.
lot of aspects,
Absolutely.
that would make everybody's lives, our lives, a thousand times better and more
Yes.
prosperous and more fulfilling. um, but you know and again, that I won't lie, that kind of talk sold me. So yeah, he is a salesman, and I know that, I know 100%. And uh, that's my hope looking at it, is that he, again, he's going to promise us the world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? um but I think some of the things that he does follow through on, that I like and that a lot of people like, is a lot of the America talk first, or
Yeah.
America
Sure.
first talk.
Sure.
Because we don't really take care of our own here.
Yeah.
While we are sending these extravagant amounts of money overseas, we have huge homeless and people who are starving, and vets especially, which is
But
a
at the
huge thing
same
for me.
time, that's one of those points that he ran on and then didn't do much with. We've had more infrastructure bills and things take place under Biden's presidency than and things like that take under Biden than we ever
Absolutely,
did
I
with
would
Trump.
agree with that, but I would also argue that our infrastructure still sucks. We're still having
It
huge
still sucks,
issues with
but
it.
that's what I'm
So you
saying.
can you
He
can
went
put in a
in
million
talking
policies
about
with it,
it.
but yes, no, you're 100% right. You're 100% right.
Whereas
Um,
Biden
and
has
that's what I
signed
mean.
bills that like we're gonna change the highway, we're gonna redo these, we're gonna make our cities look better, we're gonna
Absolutely.
you
And
know
and here, a couple of weird things I know that Trump promised, is when he was trying to go for his second time around, was
right.
disclosing the JFK files, which he only disclosed about like 60
I
or 70.
want those
I know.
files, damn
I
it.
know. So do
Stay true to your promise, motherfucker.
he only released about 60 to 70%
I
of them, so
know.
we need the rest of that. Stuff like that, where he's semi following through,
Yeah.
like he's doing it but not fully.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this is how I look at it. If you're running on that stuff, okay, no matter who you are, whatever side you are, because initially when he was first running, he obviously he wanted to run as a Republican, but they were hassling him and didn't really want him, and that was right in 2016 where everybody thought it was a fucking joke. So he said he'd run independent, and then finally, because the Republicans realized, well, Jesus Christ, look at our fucking selection here. We got nobody. We got idiots. Just yeah, come over here, please. But
Yeah.
so like he runs it there, but no matter what side you're on, when you say stuff like that, and you are an outsider, I think like him, because really nobody believed he was going to win. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. I think if anybody, either party could have rigged the election that year to keep him out, if they thought he had a chance of winning, they would have. Because
Right.
nobody in their right mind thought he was going to win. They all thought it was the biggest joke. And so I think somebody talking like that, especially him, who is very brash and outspoken and just says dumb shit and will call people losers and say you're not doing your job and I'm better than you and all this.
Right.
I think I think that gives a little bit of concern for that status quo that he's supposedly referring to that he wants to eliminate. Okay.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
Now, he is a guy that doesn't need special interest or lobbyist money. Now, that doesn't mean he never took any or did take it. I don't know. He might not have. He might have. I do know that he withheld his, he didn't take a salary because he didn't need it. So that's fine. Good for you on that. Kudos. But I think it's hard when you put yourself in a position like that where you want to shake things up.
Yeah.
And then you get there. And now I'm not saying again, I won't say every policy that he wanted was good or everything that he tried to do was great, but he had a lot of opposition trying to
Yeah.
do anything.
He did. Yes, he
you
did. Yeah.
you could call it racist that he wanted to put up a wall. He tried. Everybody blocked him. He got like 30 feet and couldn't get the Mexican guy to make it or whatever he got. He only got
Right.
so many parts of it. They couldn't finish whatever the deal was. Couldn't get Mexico to pay for it. Got some other way to pay for it. Everything was just a struggle for this guy. So I can't imagine that, Republican or Democrat who comes in running on those type of planks and those
It's gonna make
platforms,
it easy.
it's not going to be an easy run for you because if you're trying to get rid of, these 40, year politicians, which I think is absolutely disgusting, there should never be a such thing. And, in my opinion, there
I
should
agree.
never be a such thing as a career politician.
Yeah.
Political service should be viewed the same way as armed service is looked at. It's a voluntary. You're doing this
Yeah.
voluntarily. You
Yes.
shouldn't be making six figures. You know, a whole bunch of things I would overhaul. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't believe celebrities should endorse any candidate. Either way,
Yeah.
keep that shit to yourselves because to me that's
Sure.
political interference on both sides. Because you're having influential people changing people's minds, and that's not
Yeah.
how it should be. You shouldn't vote for somebody because fucking Tom Cruise told you to.
Says exactly. Sure.
You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying, or because
Absolutely.
Kid Rock sang a song for somebody. You know what I'm saying, or because Megan Thee Stallion shakes her ass. Those
Right.
aren't reasons to vote for anybody because that's how you end up with all this craziness, and that's how we end up with the guy.
But now
Because he
that's
had
something
that.
that's probably been happening since the start.
Well, that's what I
That's
mean. I think you had so much shit lead up to that 2016. That everybody was just pissed. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Everybody was so that he came along and he struck a nerve with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Fast forward now, we have a lot of crazy people. Okay.
Well, I
Not
think
gonna
because
deny
at the
that.
time people thought like, oh, he doesn't mean it, or they didn't realize just how serious he actually was. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm giving the guy the benefit of the doubt, and I want to say that his intentions are genuine and good. I don't want to think that this guy has any.
After 8 years, I don't
After 8
think
years,
so.
I
I
do.
think I mean again, I think that you know that kind of showed after midway through his first 4 years. He's very intentional on like you know doing stuff he wants to do and kind
Sure.
of having this power trip being in there and I don't know. I don't see the actual benefit.
But well, if that, yeah, but I haven't seen the benefit in the last 4 years we've been living through either.
I mean,
And
the discourse has certainly calmed down. You don't have people screaming and crying and show.
I
That's
wouldn't say the
that's
discourse has calmed down at all. I would say, I mean, it
it's
depends on
kind
where
of
you're
come
at with
back
the
up again
discourse.
with him coming back into it. But I'd say like when he for about a year or so, it was kind of a little bit more calm and stuff. And I think, yeah, if Trump doesn't become president again, it'll eventually go back to hopefully, being a little bit better and being a little bit
Well,
more
I think this
civil.
is, I think this is it for him, no matter what. It's win or
Right.
not. I don't think I highly doubt.
I think he'll be
on
back in
ticket.
4 years if he loses. I do.
I
I
don't,
100%.
think so. I don't think
I
so.
think that man is determined for a second
I
term.
mean, I mean, if he does, man, if you want to give that a shot at 82, man, more power to you. If you're coherent, like I'll give you a chance. But like if you're in the shape Joe's in right now, where you're just lost, then no, dude, I want nothing to do because I don't want. And even so, scares me now is that we have an incompetent right now that's still technically leading the country.
Right. Oh, he's on a
You know what I'm
beach having a mojito. Like,
See, and that brings up
chilling.
another issue for me is that and that's an issue I know Republicans are making a stink over is, well, how long
Yeah.
have you known this guy to be fucking just brain dead out there, and you
Right.
are covering it up. And I do agree that it is somewhat of a coup to just I do feel that they pushed this
I
guy
don't
out.
think it's a
I really
coup.
do. I
I
do.
think I
Well,
think he just finally realized, and I think he knew.
I
I think
don't.
that's the thing. Like
But he
I
doesn't
think
realize where he is. So how's he going to realize that he needs to step down? Because 10 days before he did
I
step
think
down,
yeah.
he
I
was
think
literally talking about how
like
he's
he said,
all about running. He was fine to run.
his colleagues came to him and all that, and that was the main thing. Is dude, we don't see you beating Trump. We can't. We are going to lose the election if you
And
stay
that's
in.
why I think
And
they forced him out, because I don't think he thought he was
well,
going to lose. I thought
I
he
think
thought he could still win.
no, there's no way.
I
And if he did, then yeah, that's that mental brain, and good. They kind of needed
well,
to push him out
I
at that
also
point.
think
But I do
Jill's a
think
big reason for that. She's a
probably
big
yeah.
pusher of that. If you
But
want to
I
talk about power hungry, that lady, she is a power hungry lady, and I think a lot of him staying as president right now, and a lot of him, I think him wanting to still go and say he could still go. I think a lot of it came from her more so than him.
yeah,
He
I
might have been
think so
aware that
too.
he was fucked, but
I think so too. And I think at the end of the day, like I do agree with what a lot of Democrats said, and that yes, he could have stayed in, and I think Democrats just would have tried their best, to do what they can with that. But I think they probably got the top advisors to sit him down and say, look, the top Democrats say, look, it's not we don't like you. They all like him and all that type of stuff. And it's just as simple like you don't.
well,
And that
they
somebody
obviously.
needed to tell him that. Somebody need
Well, I'm
that's
not saying.
okay. I don't think that's
Yeah,
a coup to
I
say. And
no, no, no,
good
no.
for
I'm
him
not saying
that
that.
I admire him that if he did and said like, you know what, you're right. I'm not gonna be able to take this on the way that we thought. And yeah, let's shift and let's do it now because we're already late.
See, I just don't get it though, because then why though 10 days prior are you saying that you're 100% fit and you're going to finish the race and you're going to
right.
win? So honestly, that's what I mean. I
Well,
don't think in 10 days, what do you do? Do you shit his pants and then realize, oh yeah, I can't do this
but
anymore. So
that's
for the betterment of the country, I'm gonna step down. I feel like they told him, listen, Joe, you can't win, and he thought he could, and they said, listen, you can either be nice about it, or we're gonna 25th Amendment, yeah, and just get you out of here, bud. And I think he'd rather go out with some dignity, and you could go out with dignity, or you could go out on your ass, one or the other. Because
yeah.
either way, you're out, bud. You're not going anywhere after this.
Well, I don't think they would have 25. I think like I said, I think they probably would have just doubled down and been like, oh, it's gonna be 4 years, the same thing, blah blah blah, and it'll be nice and all that. But they knew that wasn't enough to win the election, and with his
Well, yeah, I don't.
his
After that debate,
performances and that
he
type of
had no
stuff.
shot.
Yeah,
He had no
I
shot.
agree.
That debate killed
It was
him.
hard.
But I think after that, I think a lot of the powers that be put some pressure on him because there's no way he's going to step down and this and that, and then you're going to have somebody like Nancy Pelosi go on national television and say that this guy belongs up on Mount Rushmore. He was that influential. That is that I
Yeah, she's
now
taking a.
Trump has said some wacky shit, but the guy's
She,
never said he should be on Mount Rushmore yet. Anyways, he hasn't made that enough. Maybe if he wins this presidency,
no, he'll
I think if
create
he
his
wins
own
this year,
mountain for himself. That's what he'll do, and it'll be
yes,
his
and he'll be
own.
the only one out there. I have a better Mount Rushmore, Mount
Exactly.
Trumpmore. It's just me.
Mount Trump, more exactly, man.
Four
Mount Trump,
faces, and they're all
okay.
mine.
It's beloved across everyone, the nations. All right, people come to honor me. They travel from all over to leave
But
their flowers. But yeah, no, I mean, I
in
think. Go ahead, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, I think an argument can be made that when you're the party sitting over here claiming that you want to be all about democracy, I just don't
Hmm.
think that you should be circumventing it then to throw your running mate up there because I do agree with Trump's analogy. This is like having a prize fighter up there and you're 3 rounds in and you're kicking the shit out of them and all of a sudden they're like, well, here's this fresh
Right.
person that we're throwing. Which again, I could also see that that is coming in as a little whiny on his part as well because,
Yeah.
hey man, I do agree. I don't think the guy should be running again if he isn't fit. I don't think he should be even be technically. I don't think he should be president now, but I don't want her being just default name president because she has done
Sure.
nothing to earn it, and I don't
Yeah.
want her. But again, it makes me worried because supposedly, if anything happens between if anything really escalates even further between, Israel and Palestine, because now you have Iran getting involved and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
even over if Russia and Ukraine, if that starts going, more haywire, supposedly this guy has to talk to these, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. These leaders.
Obviously, we know he isn't going to. There's no way they'd allow
Yeah.
him to
Yeah.
negotiate anything. He's got to be in the room for a pitcher, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
Exactly.
Um, so it's like I think in general these are scary times when you look at like because I don't think we've had situations like this,
Yeah.
where you have one side that, you know, that where this guy wants to be, he wants to be president so bad again. He wants it so bad, so bad. He
It's
does.
so bad.
He really does. And good for him and all that for that point. I do want him to do things. I do want to hold his feet to the fire when it comes to if you win, man. I want you to get on some of the shit you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want you to be all talk. Obviously, again, I think 4 years is hard for anybody to do anything, and you know what I mean to have a real impact. You know what I'm saying? Which is obviously why people try and two-term it and go back to back so they can
Right. Right.
maybe accomplish some things in 8 years. But at the same time, man, if you're going to talk about all this game about draining the swamp, that's some of the first things aside from getting the border under control, and inflation and getting some of this bullshit under control so people can actually breathe and not have to live paycheck to paycheck for a little bit. Um, I want to know what, I need to see what else you're going to do here for the betterment of us.
Yeah.
If you keep talking all this stuff about America first, get some of these cronies out there. If you want to enact change, sir, then, do something that would, strike people. Don't try and become a dictator or enact some agenda, 2025 bullshit
Right.
in
Right.
there. Do something like maybe setting term limits for these old senators. Get them to pass this no trading for people in you know what I mean? No stock trading for Congress and Senate. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 100% agree with it, but that never will go through because they don't want that. They want to
Right.
trade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
So
Trump's going to
it's
support that too because that's those are his friends. Those are people that they're making money and all that stuff.
and
And like,
and that's what I mean. Nothing's gonna change until you start changing shit like that, and it's that type of stuff. If you're gonna use the rhetoric of we don't want to live by the status quo, and you're gonna be the outsider coming in, you gotta stand by that. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And same with her. If she's gonna stand on the platform of we don't want to move backwards, we're just gonna keep moving forward. Okay, fine. then show me how you move forward. It can't just be, well, we don't, we're not just going to be mean, no being mean to each other anymore. We're going to be
Yeah.
nice now. Like that's fine, and I think people definitely should be respected, and you should respect people and treat people with respect, and not just be an asshole because they're not part of your political affiliation or have the same ideas or thoughts as you do, you know.
Exactly.
But I want to see real change from either side here, whether Trump wins or loses. I want to see what Kamala can do here because I do believe that we do need youthful injection in politics. Like I said, speaking of the vice president picks, as you were talking about, J.D. Vance, I had no clue who this guy was until he got picked. So I looked up. I have no clue who he is. None. Um, eh, and I really thought I was hoping he was going to go for. Um,
Vivek.
Again, I don't. I really wanted Vivek because then I thought, okay, Vivek's the next in line after this guy. Then you can nab back to back for Republicans here because he's another young guy. He's got some. I wouldn't say radical, but I would say some. He's got some. You know, not totally right ideas, but he's kind of like right center almost. And I think, and he shows me a bright future. And like I said, Andrew Yang over in the Democratic Party, that shows me a bright future.
Yeah.
We want the youth. We
I
want these
love
young
I
people.
love Pete Buttigieg. I
Yeah,
absolutely love
even
Pete Buttigieg.
him
And
because he
it's
is.
not just because he's gay. Okay, I actually like a lot of because I do think a lot of things that Republicans make a point on too, right? Are family, this types of things. Buttigieg is a
Um.
family man,
Yeah.
church going guy, like also very, not
Yes.
that big of a progressive really on a lot of he's not like out there going for like trans in schools and all this type of stuff. So so yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, because those things are now part of the political sphere and conversation now. So
Right.
you have to be, whether you agree with it or not, which I don't agree with all the things when it comes to a lot of the stuff in the trans community, whether it's allowing boys to change in girls' rooms or whatever the fact may be.
Right, yeah, same.
I agree. Those people should be able to live their lives any way they see, as long as they're not hurting anybody else or especially children. That's where my cutoff always lies in, And we can always have other future conversations about this because this is a hot button topic too that a lot of people either avoid or don't talk about or don't want to get into because it's such a cause for it's a conversation made to boil over and get people riled up because you have people that feel so passionately about that subject. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things now that you have to take into consideration, and a lot of people, a lot of these demographics, now vote and are of voting age, and
Exactly.
to be moving forward, he's got to be mindful of that too. Um, and because those are communities that aren't really too fond of him at all. I would say a lot of the LGBTQIA plus minus whatever is not the biggest fan of Donald Trump. So and that's going to be a big group of people that you'd want to have vote for you. Um, but you have to, a lot of people see a lot of the way he talks, and like you, they get fearful about, are my rights going to be taken away as a trans
Sure.
person and stuff like that because he's definitely running on the platform, and he said it. I believe he said it yesterday, and he said it plenty of times now that and I agree with it. He wants to keep girl sports female, and
Right, yeah. Yes.
I agree with that position. I think there's a lot of gray area and there's a lot of room to talk about what should be done with people of different identities or America. We had that discussion. We were talking about the girl in the Olympics who has a rare condition and stuff like that.
Yes.
How do we handle these things?
Oh,
I
she's
think
coming
this
to
could.
sue, bruh.
Oh yeah, she said
She's
she was
coming
gonna.
for that money.
I wish her the best of luck. I don't know how that's gonna work, but
She
okay,
coming
good
for
for her.
Elon. She coming for JK.
Hey, I hope this goes to court, man, because then you know what? I hope then all this information would have to come out.
She's going to have to show her privates.
Yeah,
Uh,
spread them
um,
lips or whatever you got going there, and let's see what happens. But no, but in all seriousness, though, these are things that need to be discussed, and I think these are all fair conversations to have because these
absolutely.
are these are concerns of people. I
Yeah,
think anytime you have any sort of group of people that have a concern in the political sphere, it's valid, and they at least are warranted to be heard. You know,
absolutely.
and again, you might not like what the people are going to say, but that's the beauty of all this is that, and that's the beauty of again, the First Amendment and freedom of speech is to be able to say things that you risk the chance of people not liking and not wanting to hear, and that's okay.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
100% okay. And if you don't like it and you don't want to hear it, you always have the choice as a human being and as an adult or as anybody with just a room temperature IQ. You always have the choice to make to not listen to anything you don't want to, or
Exactly.
or don't think you ever want to hear in your life, and that's fine. That's completely okay. What's not okay is to, um, you know, call somebody any sort of ist or phobe or anything like that because their political
Right.
ideas differ from yours. Now, again, if they're
Exactly.
being one of those things, I'm all for calling somebody out who's genuinely being racist or homophobic or whatever. But just because they have a different political ideology of you doesn't automatically make that person, you know, a racist, a homophobe, a Nazi, or anything like that.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because that's, we've been talking for over 2 hours. I think this has been incredibly constructive.
I
we haven't
agree.
even we haven't yelled or anything like that. Not like we'd be opposed
Yeah.
to doing that, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, we haven't really either in our private conversations. It's always been pretty calm. We throw our points and our bring up our you know thoughts and everything, and respectfully respond and stuff. And so, no, I enjoy that.
yeah,
That's what I want
and
out of these conversations.
exactly. And whether 100 people see this or 5 people see this, the whole point of this is to just show that it's okay to have these different views, and it's okay to have friends that have these
Yeah,
different views.
and
You
it's
know,
good to talk about it
E-
and actually
exactly,
expand and challenge yourself, challenge your thoughts and your views, and
exactly, and
do research for yourself, and don't just follow blindly to whatever any of these
yes,
candidates are saying or throwing out there or doing that type of thing. Like
yes, and again, I'm not again, I'm voting for Trump. I'm not 100. I don't fly Trump flags or
right,
anything like
right,
that.
yeah,
I don't, I will call out his stupidity and stuff like that. But we're definitely on opposite ends to where, especially in this election too, here where we're with these two candidates for Republican and Democrat, where you know I'm I'm a 38-year-old white male who's voting for Trump.
right,
You're a 27-year-old gay male who's voting
yeah.
for Kamala Harris. On paper, as everything
We
sits
fit the
today,
bill, huh? We really fit the.
we fit the bill, but we should be at each other's throats here.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that there aren't people on Trump's side who, fuck the gays, God hates you. There's always
right,
going
yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah.
religious fanatics like that. But on paper, for both sides, the news would have you, and this is primarily their fault for doing this because they do like to sow a lot of division in their reporting. Um, it's their fault because again, on paper, to them, we shouldn't be able to have these conversations. I should
Exactly,
hate
yeah,
you. I shouldn't like your lifestyle. Now, I'm not the most religious person out there. I am
right.
spiritual in the sense that I do believe that there's something out there that created all of this.
Hmm.
Somehow, it had to be something. We didn't just. I don't think we just showed up.
Right,
There's just no way. Um, but I just don't subscribe to like the invisible man in the sky theory,
sure,
so to speak.
sure.
But needless to say that
And that's another thing we disagree. I believe I do believe in a
yeah,
guy. You've watched the videos on I've done
yeah,
on my channel and stuff
yes,
like so, and we're not a completely fine friends. I love
yeah,
talking about that type of stuff with people, and I take
exactly.
no
And
offense to anybody's beliefs or thoughts or
and
you
and
know
I grew up Catholic all my life. I went to Catholic school and that,
right.
so I just have a different belief system. I don't buy into
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of that. I have my issues with religion as it is, but I don't. Anybody that's again a beauty about this place. You're free to practice whatever religion you want. And again,
exactly.
and the real it's none of my business. You know what I mean? I don't
Sure.
get
Yeah, so stay out of
upset
it,
by
Bob. God.
yeah, Yeah,
fucking ass.
it isn't. It's really nobody's business for
Well, but
anybody to
that,
know
but you know,
what your thing of worship is. I mean, you want to tell people that's fine, but you
but I do think like how we talked about in the beginning, like society's changed, culture's changed. There
yes,
was a time where we didn't talk about these things. We didn't talk about religion, politics, or
yeah,
sexuality, all these types of things. And now, that's very open. And I think that for the most part is a good thing. Like people don't have to, because again, it challenges your views. And as long as you're able to have a conversation and know how to talk decently and like a human being and all those things like we talked about, I think it's very constructive, and I think it only brings people closer together because I disagree with you, but I genuinely want to understand where you're coming from,
sure,
and
absolutely,
that makes me be more empathetic for you. It makes me not put you in that category if he's some right wiener, piece of crap, or do it like when you actually sit down and hear somebody out, you know it shows you that like there's a lot that you probably don't know about them or that you agree with or that and again it can just be very constructive, and I think that's something not just in politics and talk about religion or talk about any of it can be very
yeah,
very good.
a- absolutely, 100%. And again, it is very refreshing to be able to have a conversation like this with you or anybody for that
Yeah.
matter, but especially with you because I think we have connected on in the conversations that we have had, whether it be something stupid about movies,
Right.
or something more serious like this. And I don't want anybody to think of because I don't want to come off like in any sort of hypocritical way because I'll be the first to admit, and this, and anybody who's been in any of our discords knows this. I We make fun, we have a good time with
Yes.
everybody. Um,
Yes.
I make very off-color jokes.
We
Everybody
all do.
does.
We
We
all
all
do.
do. Um,
Me
you
included.
know, and I because we do that, and we know each other. So when we're doing it to each other, it's one thing. We all know that it's all in good spirit, and that neither one of us is making any sort of derogatory remark towards the other in any sort of way. We're just having fun, and we do that because of the fact that we understand that we can do that and know that it isn't good fun and that we have a good enough connection with each other to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
again, these are all things I think that are lost and that people are taking too seriously nowadays. To where if you make an off-color joke, you're now labeled as a specific person for whatever type of joke you might be referencing, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And again, it leads to all the same thing that we've been talking about this whole time is people then taking that to where you can't have any sort of conversation. Um, and there's so many crazy things that are going on in the world today that do need to be talked about. And you have to be able to have the conversation no matter how uncomfortable it makes you, because there's going to be a lot of things that we might talk about on here in the future that might make you uncomfortable, that might make me
Exactly.
uncomfortable, that might make people who are listening to this uncomfortable, and that's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
That's
Yes. Yes.
completely fine, and that's the whole point. Because if you can't have uncomfortable conversations, you're never going to get to the solution to any problems,
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
too afraid to talk about what the problem actually is, because you don't want to come off and be labeled a certain way by other people. And I have no problem. People can label me whatever they want. None of that stuff bothers me because I know who I am. I know who you are. You know who I am for the most part.
Yeah.
And we know what we're about here. Um, and again, this is amazing because our views are so askew and so different that it does, it challenges me to be more open. And
Yeah.
that's
Me too.
I don't want to be the stereotypical person who's, well, I've had gay friends before, so I know how it is. Nothing. I have had interactions with gay people and lesbians and drag queens, and again, is that all of that stuff up my alley or anything that I want to
Right.
participate in on a daily? No, not
Right.
really. but it doesn't bother me that other people do, and I don't
Yeah,
care. That that's who you are. I loved Brad. Brad's a great. I love him. And I love you. And I don't care about
absolutely. Yeah,
how you guys live your life because we have fun no matter what,
yeah,
and we talk about whatever, and I feel comfortable enough to talk to you guys about anything or say anything
absolutely.
on my mind without a fear that okay, are these guys gonna think of me
They're gonna
differently?
think, right? Exactly. Yeah,
You know.
yeah, and
Now,
that's yeah.
I'm fully aware that I might say something or share something that might just be, some stupid high thought or anything that I might get shit for and get roasted for, and that's
Right.
100% okay because I think that's more than fair. But again, I never have a fear that of coming to you or Brad or Joker or anybody and talking about anything because
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm going to be, criticized or judged. I always feel like, if somebody doesn't understand what my point is, like you're going to
And
ask, well,
talk
hey,
more
why
about
do
it.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, why do you feel that way? Or what makes you think that, or what makes you agree with, Trump on this, or what makes you think that that's a bad,
Right.
again, this is all so good. I'm so happy we're doing this. Like
Me
I
too.
honestly, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how happy I am because I, I've always enjoyed talking with you, and like I said, no matter what conversation we've had, no matter how silly, trivial, or important, they've always been very fulfilling at the end of them, and I've always felt good after having a conversation with you specifically. So, because me
Absolutely.
and
Me
you
too.
have had a lot of these in-depth, like kind of one-on-one times where there really isn't anybody in our Discord, and it's just me and you
Right.
just hanging out there, and we just get on something and just go off about it, and that's
Exactly. Exactly.
wonderful, and I love that.
Yeah, I enjoy that type of stuff because, like I said, I think we all have different opinions, and we all have, as much as I think something like we want to keep quiet. We want to share our opinions. We want to talk about things, and there's like
Yeah,
some worry of discourse or an argument or whatever. And so it's very refreshing and it's nice. And this is how it's supposed to be. That two people can have such opposing views and be able to talk for so long without getting into it or it turning into something personal attacks or any of these types of things because it is kind of hard nowadays. I think there's even a culture of like exaggerating it for stuff like they're doing on YouTube for views and for those types of things and stuff, and just like
absolutely.
to just have a normal, calm, peaceful conversation. I think that's what I would hope that that's what people want, and that's we want that
Absolutely.
normalcy again. Of
I do. I want just a little bit. I know it's gonna it's always it's just happening with everything, and it's not just it's not just exclusive to political talk. It's
exactly,
starting
yeah,
this type of behavior, unfortunately, is
bleeding into
starting to
movie talk. It's
exactly
bleeding
to where now
into
you can't even have a difference of opinion on a movie, or else people don't want to have anything to do with you, or say you're this
Yeah.
cultist or that cultist. It is. It,
Yep.
it really is getting so bad, and it does that to me is more concerning than anything that either one of these candidates can do now. And again, I will contribute a lot of this. A lot of this is because when it comes to political discourse, now Trump did change the game, and
Yeah.
not all of it for the better, as we see with how political discourse is. I can fully admit to that
Yeah.
because he did. He made it acceptable to personally attack your opponent rather than attack policy. He made it acceptable to nickname people. He made it acceptable. Now, again, I'm always for one if I do agree with him that a certain politician is an idiot and he could be well so and so's a loser. That to me is hysterical and yeah they should be called out. They should be.
Absolutely.
All politicians should be called. If you're horrible at your job and you've been doing it for 20 years, yeah,
Yeah.
you're a loser and get out.
Yes.
A hundred
Yes.
percent. And that goes on both sides of the aisle. I don't care who your party is. Um,
Absolutely.
both sides, get out. You are a loser, and I
Yeah.
do enjoy that for him. But again, that goes to that plays to the, and I'm guilty of it too, to getting to having to attaching myself to that outsider because that's what
Yeah.
I have always
Sure.
wanted in some sort of political candidate is somebody who doesn't talk like a politician, who does come off as is somewhat of a. I don't want to say he's definitely not an every guy because he's not. He didn't grow up that
Yeah,
way. He's not
yeah,
that way.
right, yeah.
Um, but
Small loan of $1 million.
exactly. But he has that that. It's so cheeseballish to say it to frame it this way, but he has like that tough guy business talk and
Sure,
the way he
yeah,
does talk and
absolutely, yes,
the way he sells himself and everything.
yeah,
That I can't help but admire because
yeah.
you don't see it in politics.
Look, no,
And
he's got
I think there could be a middle. There needs to be. I think
a middle ground. Yeah,
obviously we're not going to get it with him. We're not going to get it with him.
no, no,
I think somebody like Vivek is on that middle ground where he does
possibly,
speak
yeah,
on the same issues Trump does, but he is so obviously so much more well spoken and
yes.
eloquent and stuff like that. That
Or
it's
and even he, like, and that's the thing, like I enjoyed that conversation with him as Mark Cuban. Him and Mark Cuban, very different. Mark Cuban ain't gonna vote for Trump anytime soon.
no,
Vivek ain't
no,
gonna change his mind on that. But the fact that they were willing to sit down and talk to each other and go through everything like that, and Vivek was open enough to listen to him and hear his thoughts, and because even there, Vivek brought up, like, you also supported Trump, and he explained himself with that there too and stuff.
Exactly, and he explained why he did and why he changed his mind, and
Right,
those are fair points. And again, that happens. That's not exclusive to Republicans switching sides.
right,
It
right.
happens. I always point to her because I think Tulsi Gabbard, she was a Democrat,
Yeah,
and then she switched sides, and that's okay.
exactly,
She didn't like what they were about, and she was opposed to Trump and anybody on the Republic, and now she's okay with him, and that's how politics is. You know what I mean? As we've
exactly.
discussed earlier with Kamala and Biden when they were going at each other, and he's a racist, and now next thing you know, she's his VP. So
Racist.
the guy she was just calling on a debate stage a racist picked her to be vice president, and
Yeah,
that's just how it goes. You know what I mean?
exactly.
That's just how. And it's just no different than J.D. Vance said that. Literally said that
Hates
Trump was
Trump.
like the
Yeah,
next coming of Hitler, and
right, right.
didn't like
Yeah,
him, and was nothing against him, nothing. He was nothing for him, and all of a sudden he's the VP pick, which again
exactly.
I think is a terrible pick because I have no clue about the guy. But whatever. I don't concern myself too much with VPs because they don't do much. They really don't. They're
It's
just
him and his couch, man. It's him and his
yeah.
couch.
Exactly, him and his couch, and then Tim Waltz over there's got some infatuation with horses or something like that. I have no clue, but like this is what politics has become now.
Yeah,
One guy's fucking a couch, the other guy's drinking horse jizz. You know what I mean? It just this is where we are with political debate and political talk, and it happens with everybody. You know, and especially you have mainstream streamers who do political speak and political coverage as their whole thing. You know,
yeah,
a guy like Destiny, Hassan, guys like who the political discourse is their whole thing, and this is all they're doing is just disparaging the other side, being argumentative, calling the other side weird or who's this and who's that or who, like you said, who's fucking a couch,
right.
all this
Yeah,
stuff, and it's again, I
which JD Vance did not do by the time.
no.
That's
But it's not conducive to anything constructive in political discourse.
right,
It isn't. Because
right. You're
again,
not you're not talking
you're
about
not,
the actual issues. You're talking about
and not only that, but you're not
yeah,
changing the other side's mind by doing this. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah, yeah. Exactly,
You're never
exactly.
going to convince a Republican to switch over by doing that, and you're never going to convince a Democrat to switch over by doing what the Republicans do and what people on the right do. And it's and again, we could, the battles are for the swing states and stuff like that, but it's going to come to a point, I think, if it keeps continuing this way, where it's
Yeah,
going to get so bad, where everything is split, and everything's just going to be at a deadlock. You're going to have a
yeah.
50-50 split on everything because
There's no bipartisanship anymore. There's
no, there
no
isn't, and
yeah.
everything's going to be a filibuster, and nobody's going to want to help the other side because nobody's going to want to give the other side a win, for even
That's
if it's for our benefit. You know what I
exactly, and
mean?
I think
And
that's something that is missed. But I have my issues with Obama as well and stuff. But that was one thing I very much appreciated with
mhm,
him. He made it a point to work across the aisle and to have
he did.
some
He
sort of
did.
bipartisanship that we can all go. I'm not the only person getting everything that I want here. This isn't a 4-year term of
Oh,
all
yes,
Democrat, wins
exactly,
and all, and
exactly. because you
Um,
have to work with the other side. You have to
yeah,
get stuff done.
I think he
And
understood that balance very well. That
yeah,
this cannot, if this is going to work, it cannot be,
but
all
I think
me, win, win, win. Like
and I think one thing I can put a lot of the onus and a lot of blame on Trump for, and as an effect of him changing this political landscape and how politics is handled between the parties and between candidates, is the fact that he's changed it so much that I don't know. It doesn't seem like we can go back to a regular Discord. I'm hoping we
I
can,
think we can. I think we
but
can.
I mean, I'd like to have that hope. I'm going to be a little bit more,
Yeah,
whatever
I
you want
agree
to
with
call
you.
it,
It's
glass half empty. That
optimistic.
it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I can't be too optimistic about it because I see how the discourse is about everything every day,
Sure.
and all you have to do is look on Twitter to see it. And I know Twitter doesn't
And
speak for
Facebook and
everybody.
any of these
Yeah, but
social medias.
it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere, and it's in
Yeah,
every conversation. It's in every facet, whether it be sports, and sports has always been a very tribalistic thing for everybody. Everybody has their team that they're diehard for. Everybody's a ride or
right,
die now. You know what
right.
I mean? But when that spills over into other aspects of life to where everything has to be that and it has to be to that extreme where it's getting where the middle of everything is starting to get thinner and thinner. There is no, you know what I mean. In my opinion, I think we're losing a lot of um, the pure conservative and liberal from what they used to be to what they are now.
Yes,
What they are now is a
yes,
far fetch from what they used to be.
yes.
Um,
The extremism that I think we all talked about in 2016 is becoming more prevalent on both
y-
sides.
yeah,
It
and
is
it's
it is
we don't want to
truly
go this way.
overtaking both parties. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it keeps
Uh,
going this way, because I don't think like even if the Democrats win here and Harris wins, um, whoever it's going to be the next 4 years from now, I think you're still going to see the same tactics used, maybe,
absolutely.
possibly.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I do have a little hope, like if we do get somebody like a Vivek up there, these young guys, that they're going to do it a little more eloquently and stick to attacking policy rather than people,
People. Yeah. Yeah.
which
That's
I'm
what you would
okay
hope.
with attacking the policy.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah. That's what it should be.
you can make the point to say, Trump's an asshole and he talks stupidly and he
Yeah.
does, that's fine. And I think it's fair for him to make the point that he doesn't have to keep constantly saying, well, she's low IQ. I think he can make the point that look, she can't speak well. She's gonna be, if once I get her in front of a live crowd or something like that, in front of a debate stage, she's gonna freeze up and just go on the word salads that she likes to go on. I
Yeah.
think that's fair for him to say. But again, to just keep attacking, if he wants to keep playing identity politics, I don't think that's going to work out in his favor for him. I think he needs to stick with straight policy. This is what I'm going to do compared to what she's going to do, and she has nothing she's going to do because she hasn't told us anything. That's what he has to go on, and that's what he has to push on her and force her to come out and say, "This is what I'm about, and this is what we're going to do." Because
Yeah.
again, I don't think it's going to help her, and I think even youth vote will see through if she comes off as fake. If she comes off
Yes.
in any sort of disingenuous way, because I don't, a lot of the young people don't like that. That pisses them off. They don't want to be lied
Yeah.
to.
If it
They
seems
don't.
like she's just going overboard or appealing or doing stuff just for the sake of it, yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
then
gonna
I
become
think she'll.
apparent.
Yeah, and I think she'll lose some of that vote. As much as they
Sure.
don't want to vote for him, they might just not vote at
Or
all.
yeah, exactly. It will just go back to the not voting,
Ex-
which will probably still
Exactly,
give
which
Trump
is
the upper. Yeah.
exactly, which is bad. And even so, and even him, he's gonna have a hard time because, I know a lot of people like to bring this audio clip of his up, but when he was at his last rally talking to Christians, they
Oh
have a
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're people that don't like to show up on voting day either. As much as they'll show up to a rally and praise you and
Right.
talk about the guy till high heaven, they're lazy as hell when it comes on election day and they don't like to go out. So
Yeah.
like his plea to, like, for the love of God, please just come out this year for me, and then you never got to come out again because you
Right.
just don't.
Right.
I don't care because after this I'm done. Which is
Yeah.
again why I don't believe that he is the type of guy that would want to be a dictator, because then I feel like he would just outwardly say, like, I swear you'll never vote for me again because it'll just
I'll
be
just
me
take
forever.
over.
You love me.
Yeah,
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 you'll love me. But
yeah.
but anyways, but stuff like that. So that's another vote that he's got to push hard for them people to come out to vote for him.
Yeah.
And
True.
and again, she might have policies that might sway some of them, But if she comes off as disingenuous to them, those people are again, those are fanatic people.
Yeah.
Those are the people that go crazy and that love him, like you said, that see him as the second coming, that paint the picture of his, face on Jesus's body and all that stuff. So, but he still has to keep them. He has to keep them happy, with his policies and stuff like that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's again at the very end of the day, I think we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about because we got a long way to go before the actual election itself in November.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I was going to say we'll probably be back next week.
That's
Um,
perfect.
Probably before the DNC, and then we'll probably do something around the DNC as we get more information and stuff. And
Yeah, because I'm sure that's something like what we did yesterday. We can definitely watch again and
yeah,
together
yeah,
and see, react to that together. And even
exactly.
if we wanna do, because I'm sure we can't. I don't know what the rules are, if that's something because that's political. If that's
Right.
something is we can restream and react to live or something. If you want to do
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
depending on what your schedule is, not forcing you to do
Absolutely.
anything here
No,
or even
I'd
saying we
be
have to
very down.
continue this.
I
You
would be
know.
very, very down. I would love to do this. I mean, that's what I think I'll probably be doing until the election, something like this, talking about it and just continuing to
Yeah, I'm more than
follow
happy
it.
to be a guest of yours anytime you want me, man. Anytime
Well,
you
yeah,
want me.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're welcome every time. So, with
Yeah,
that, like
but
I
that
said, any closing final thoughts on all this?
um,
I mean, we'll be back soon because
yeah, oh
there's
well,
so
yeah.
much more I didn't even get to and stuff. But
Oh
we're
yeah, well,
almost gonna hit
there's
the
a
three
lot we
hour
didn't get
mark.
to, and
Right,
yeah,
right,
and I
right.
do apologize if I got a little
No,
ranty
no,
on things and went
this is
off.
perfect. It's perfect. I mean, if any,
Um,
like I said, it just saves it for the next time, and
no, absolutely,
yeah,
because these are never ending conversations. And in closing,
right,
all I would say is this, man. I would say again, thank you for having me on. I am honored truly to be here and do this with you because I think this is awesome. I think we talked for 2 hours and 40 minutes, uninterrupted, uncensored, unedited.
we beat
No,
Elon in Trump's time frame. That's all I
yes,
care about.
absolutely. And you know what? Not one. We didn't agree on everything. We had
Right.
opposing views, and that's the beauty of all of this, and that's the point of all this, and that's the only thing I want anybody who watches this to take away from this is that you can have different people who live different lives and different lifestyles and have different views on politics, life, movie, whatever. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're still going to walk out of this no matter what our opinions and views are, still liking each other, enjoying each other's company, and looking forward to more of these conversations, which I am wholeheartedly looking forward to. We got a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up, like you said, DNC in a week or so that we could possibly do something with. We can come back next week and touch on a lot more topics that we didn't even touch on, which is
Dude, yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
again, I'm sorry
I
if I
still want to
rambled
get
too
into
much.
no this work because and it kind of works out because it stays focused to like what I said across the aisle. We're going to talk about the politics and the candidates, but yeah, definitely I would love to do a stream where we talk about Elon and talk about the Olympic stuff and talk about all that stuff as well and get into
Well,
all that.
absolutely. I think we should talk about Elon and stuff like that because you
Yeah.
did mention up how you think that is a little bit, interfering that he's doing when he does stuff like
Yes.
this because of
Yeah.
the reach
Yeah.
he has. And I think
Yeah.
that's a fair point to talk about because
Absolutely.
I feel in the same way that a lot of celebrities with a lot of reach like that should stay out of the political sphere, should
Sure.
not be allowed to openly, I think, and publicly endorse any candidate because that really, again, it just like with Elon, that has a lot of sway. There are going
Yes,
to
it
be
does.
people that will take his word and oh God, he's endorsing Trump. Well, that's it. My vote's locked. You
Right.
know,
Right.
and again, both sides do it, so it's not like it's unfair to either or. I just think that as a whole, I don't think any sort of celebrity with any high status should be able to publicly endorse and sway a vote that way, and or donate to these people in any sort of fashion.
Yeah.
I think all donations for political parties should be it's supposed to be about us the people. Now are they people? Yes, they are. And I know that's kind of like it's kind of like I'm advocating for taking like rights away from some people in a sense, which it is when I think about it when I'm saying that. But it just
Yeah.
there's just something about that I think we can have some sort of regulation on or something that
Yes. At
because
the end of
again,
the day,
yeah.
there does
Well,
need to be
the main
something. I mean,
thing
look,
it needs to be about us, about the small people,
right?
not the rich people, not the, you
Yes,
know what I
because
mean?
it's not just
Not
with politics either. Here we've talked about, and we'll get into it next.
exactly.
Elon with the stock market, Elon with certain things. it goes beyond politics, and that affects us little people too, the stock market, those types of things that he has.
Absolutely. When I had Tesla shares and he would say something that would fuck those up, yeah, believe me, that hurt. That hurt.
Right.
And they would drop from 250 a share to 190 because he opened his mouth or smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast, whatever he does. So
Okay, admittedly, that wasn't awesome.
It is awesome, but again, you're right. It has real world ramifications for other people. Every action has consequences, and not always do the consequences just apply to you. Other people can be affected by those consequences.
Exactly.
And on a global scale here, especially with what we're talking about.
Yeah. Because American politics affects the whole world. It really does. It's and so. But no, man. On that, thank you so much. I know you're thanking me and stuff, but I kind of feel, it's weird. I feel the opposite. Thank you for being here, and because again, I've wanted to have these conversations. I think people are honestly like, either there's a lot of performative stuff with these types of conversations online, or just genuine fear of like, I don't want to be I don't want backlash. I don't want to be called this or that or whatever. And so
that's fine. And you might even get some backlash just for having somebody like me on. Who
probably, I'm sure I'll get backlash for some of my views.
And I fully expect somebody to be like, tell me I'm a piece of shit for voting this way, and that's
right.
That's okay. Everybody's
and that's
entitled
bullshit.
to their opinion.
It is
bullshit, but everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's the opposite of what we're going for here.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But, somebody watched that and just be like, "Okay, you didn't watch the stream."
Exactly, but I think it's to be expected right now in this time frame with the way the climate of everything.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, man. No, thank you so much for being on. We'll be back next week. I'll make sure Bob is here to talk about, I'm sure, whatever happens in the coming days and stuff. DNC is going to be coming up next week, so there will be definitely more stuff to cover there. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching, for tuning in. I really hope that you enjoyed the conversation, got something out of it, and like us here, be open-minded, be willing to talk to people who have different views and stuff. And don't take it so seriously as to ruin friendships or ruin your chances of talking with other people or that type of thing, because everybody is so much more than their politics or beliefs or any of that type of stuff. And until you really get to know a person, it's it's hard to make those judgments. So make sure like, share, subscribe, do all those fun things. Tune in Friday for the Hard Focus podcast. And if you haven't already, you can check out the channel announcements, update video, and all that it came out the other day. So, again, thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. And, we will see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace and love.